Hi, everybody.
Another
Rose,
pooey
hello.
podcast.
No, we're not doing that this week.
Pooh.
We've had way too much of that lately.
Yeah, we have indeed. Yes.
We're going to have something very clever or nice or uplifting or something.
Clever, nice, and uplifting. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a bit of a task, that one. I had a quick look through everything, and I don't see that much.
It's quite a
clever,
mixture
nice,
this
and
week.
uplifting.
I was quite proud of myself with the mixture we have here.
Oh, it's good. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I always start every week thinking, "Gosh, are we gonna find enough?" You know, my phobia, and then
Oh, yeah, exactly right. I quite like the bullet hole, and that's a good story.
Well, wait till you hear the intro. Roger's done a little enhancement. Oh no!
Oh, has
when
he
did
now?
the enhancement?
No, it was the one about
That's
the
the
iPad.
other one, the iPad. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
that's
that-
brilliant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought you guys would like that one.
Where did you get the idea that you could just get an iPad and fly IFR?
Maybe that's what he thought. It was like a little IFR. It was like an Apple thing. It's an Apple facility.
Right.
The controller was very patient with him.
Yeah, I thought he
I'm
was
getting the Apple FR, the IFR.
Yeah, which iPad? Oh, the IFR.
So Dr. Steph is out at a conference, and I think today she actually is at the conference. She has been conferencing earlier in the week.
Yeah, in her ski
Gear, exactly. But I believe she's actually at sessions today.
What? No.
I've realised that's why she always goes skiing with these opaque masks. You know, so that no one can recognise her and go, "Oi, Dr. shouldn't you be conferencing?"
I don't think she cares. So she won't be joining us. We're hoping that Nick Camacho will join us at some point. He had a work meeting called, but he's going to try. Hi, Microman. I don't remember seeing Microman before.
Microman?
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you a very small man?
I don't know. I don't remember seeing Microman before.
That's a little personal.
Yeah, no. Well, sounds like a personal problem. Might want to reconsider
Yeah, that's right.
your nickname. Yeah, introduce yourself.
Yeah, who are you?
Man.
Is this one of our usuals using another ID or something?
Well, it might be he's a microlight pilot.
Ah, could be.
Did you see where TVR is at the DMV, but he'll be joining us later?
I hold boxes from China. They'll soon cut you off in your prime. Sorry about that, Mr. Boxes, Captain Boxes.
They're monitoring him. Look out.
Oh, yeah, they will be. Don't worry.
I'm ready when you are, guys.
Devil own.
Hello,
John.
Donna Rose. Hello, Mike, Ludgar. All of you. All y'all.
All y'all. Jeff, did you want to try the sound levels for the intro?
I did want to try the sound levels for the intro. Here we go.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door.
Play a little bit more.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
That is Neil
Airline
Landmore.
Pilot Guy, episode 607.
607.
All right.
Microman is Neil Landwarn.
Is it really?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
our guess was correct then.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Maybe he's done
That
this
was a good
before and I
guess.
remembered vaguely, but probably not.
I was sitting here doing some show prep, and I see this guy walk. You know, I have like a patio. I'm on the ground level of my apartment complex, and so you know, have like a little patio area that when you walk out, and you walk through a couple of like I think are they cypress trees, like the tall juniper
Could be.
trees.
I don't know.
Could be
up on my tree.
Malta trees or Greek island trees.
Yeah.
But
No, they don't
Cyprus.
call 'em that.
Yeah. Cyprus
No,
trees.
no, not that cypress. Anyway, or maybe there's some connection there. I don't know. Anyway,
Cedar
so
of
I
Lebanon?
see this person, you know, walk through the thing and then come up to the door, and then I'm thinking, well, is he going to knock on the door, or is he going? Oh, nope, he's trying to open the door, and I think he realizes
He's
as
at
he's
the wrong
trying to open
place.
the door and it's locked that it's not his apartment.
Okay.
And then he quickly turned around and
Whoop.
kind of, you know, hoping nobody would see him. But I'm thinking,
Right.
Hey,
I saw ya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did
you picking up your baseball bat? Did that convince him?
No, I don't. I'm not. I don't have a baseball bat like our friend.
Wow.
Captain Dana. Hi, Micah. Micah's going to physio, but he might come back later. Okay.
See, I remembered to do the updating the website. Just
yeah.
barely. I did it about an hour ago.
Have
you barely updated it, or you barely remembered?
Have you got your local recorder on, Jeff? Your recorder?
I do not, Liz. Thank you for reminding me. That's a big deal, you know.
I know. I don't want to cause you any heartache there when you're doing your editing.
It is going.
Okay.
And let me make sure that this mute works. I'm going to count to 10. 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
7,
6,
8,
7,
9,
8,
10.
9,
you did drop out there.
Okay, good. In this case, dropping out is a good thing.
Right.
Okay.
And Jeff persuaded me to get hardwired today, so my connection should be all okie dokie.
Excellent. It's certainly good so far.
Good.
Yeah. It wasn't so great before she plugged it in.
Hi, Bill in Ironic in Toronto. Sorry, Bill in Ironic. Oh, boy.
He's so ironic.
I know. Yeah, happy Thursday. Happy Friday Eve.
You know, I used to get quite excited when Friday came around. You know,
yeah.
Friday was happy hour at 5 o'clock and get plastered, and then Saturday morning wake up with a hangover, go take the kids somewhere awful for lunch, and like McDonald's, and then Sunday was usually a party somewhere. So.
And now it's totally meaningless to you now?
No, yeah, absolutely. Like yeah, it's just another day.
I actually still get sort of a feeling on the weekend, like, oh, it's the week. I still feel, I don't know why I do, but I still sort of.
I usually have an extra bottle of wine over the weekend.
Well, I cook a nice dinner one of the days of the weekend usually.
Extra bottle per day.
Yeah, exactly right.
All right, I'm ready.
Oh, and I need to apologize because I haven't had anything to eat since last night, and so
are you going to be hangry?
Wow.
I might have some Borgerig. This says Borgerigmai, but let's see.
Yeah, that's a plural. Us is the Borgerigmus.
Sounds.
It's like alumnus and alumni, right?
Borgerigmai. So I apologize for my potential Borgerigmai.
Just don't get hangry.
I've never heard of that word, Jeff. What does it mean?
It means excessive stomach noises.
Grumbling and the tumbling.
Just sounds that come from your gastrointestinal tract and pathway from your mouth to your anus.
Well, we really.
Says. I'm reading it.
Yeah, there's a show title there, from stomach your mouth
growling.
To your anus.
No,
that would be a great show title
that we're going to use.
Definitely not. No way. Just don't get hangry, Jeff. That's all we ask.
I'll try not to. Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Let me do this. And
got your countdown ready?
I do. That's what I'm
the countdown, ladies, go. Da-da-da-da-da-dum.
Bill's right. It's stomach turbulence. That's really what it is.
There you go. Okay. Here we go.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Airline Pilot Guy, episode 607. Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 22nd of February, 2024. Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. It's your light and he's flying by. With the Airline Pilot Guy. In today's episode, a bullet penetrates a passenger jet which is heading towards an Indonesian runway. And an air traffic controller gets frustrated with a pilot for trying an instrument approach using a failing iPad.
You can't legally fly an RNAV approach with an iPad.
Also ahead, more news and your feedback. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger. Flight 607 is ready for pushback.
Nope, you're mute. You're muted. Jeff, you're muted.
Well, that's no good.
Nope.
Let's do it all over again.
No, we're not going to do it all over again. I'm just going to go. How will I do this?
Thank you, Radio Roger.
Yeah. Thank you, Radio Roger. Wasn't his fault, though. Thanks a lot, Radio Roger. Let's see. So let me start right
That sounds terrible.
here. Yeah. Thanks a lot. For nothing. No, it was not his fault. It was my fault. Okay. So you can hear me now. So here we go. I'm going to start the play right here.
The upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger. Flight 607 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation. 1010 wins on 92.3 FM in
New York City.
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. Captain Jeff, I am Captain Jeff, a former U.S. Air Force pilot training instructor.
No, I'm Captain Jeff.
No, I am.
Captain Jeff.
No,
I'm
pretty sure
Captain Jeff.
Hey now, stop it.
I'm Spartacus as well.
As I was saying, I was in the Air Force. I flew airplanes, and I flew a bunch of them at Delta Airlines as well, and I'm now retired. And that wonderful little voice you hear in the background is from his studio.
In Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
A professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain of Virgin Atlantic Airways. It's Captain Nick.
Hi there, Jeff. Saying I'm Spartacus reminds me of the day I had Tony Curtis visiting on the flight deck of my fine aeroplane as we trolled across Canada. Sad that he is no longer with us.
Well, that's great, except that the people listening to the podcast aren't going to hear our references that you're talking about.
Oh, you're not going to yeah, put them in. Go on.
No, I'm not going to put that in. No, it never happened, and you can't prove it unless you watch the video.
Yes, watch the video. I'm Spartacus.
Okay, here we go. Also joining us from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, it's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody. Welcome.
Welcome to you. Great to see everyone. We were hoping that we'll be joined by another host as we are in progress. We're thinking that Nick Camacho might be able to join us today. The others are probably squarely out for this episode, and we're going to miss
Squarely.
Absent without leave.
Yes. And
have a good show, you guys.
Cheers, Liz.
Bye.
Thanks, Liz. And let's move on to some aviation news.
Stand by for news.
All right, we're going to start off with this from the Aviation Herald. Is an accident, a Marathon Embraer ERJ-195 on behalf of Air Serbia. That's what it was painted all up in, the Air Serbia livery. A registration Oscar Yankee Golf Delta Charlie, performing flight 324 from Belgrade to Dusseldorf with 106 people on board, lined up on runway 30 left at taxiway Delta 5. And that has about 1,273 meters, 4,175 feet remaining, and departed and overran the end of the runway before becoming airborne. Following a collision with the high-precision approach lights of runway 12 right past the end of the runway, the aircraft became airborne about 500 meters, 650 feet past the runway end, climbed through 50 feet, about 6,700 feet past the runway end. Wow. And stopped the climb at 4,000 feet, burned off fuel, returned to Belgrade for a landing on runway 30 left without further incident, about 55 minutes past their original departure. Wow. There were no injuries. The aircraft sustained substantial damage.
Yeah, just a little point there, Jeff. I think 1,650 feet past the runway, not 650 feet.
Yeah, but at 50, no, they were. I was talking about the 50 feet above ground level.
No, earlier when you said 500 meters, and you said 650 feet past the runway, as opposed to
1,600.
1,650 feet.
It's very important that we get these numbers right. Thank you for. Because you never know what kind of negative emails we're going to get. Conversion between meters and
back to 50%
feet. Yeah, we're always striving for that. Thank you very much for that. And let's see. Following the occurrence, the ILS of runway 12 right was downgraded from Category 3 to Category 1. Yeah, because he took out all the high precision lighting. So let's see. Passengers reported immediately after takeoff. Sounded like something broke. The aircraft shook. Yeah. Then they entered they don't realize how lucky they are to be alive right now. They entered a holding pattern for about an hour before returning to land at Belgrade. They were quickly escorted. Yeah. They were quickly escorted escorated off the aircraft. It says. They weren't told anything except it was a minor incident. A minor incident, nothing to see here. However, the passengers could see something had broken off of the left wing. The airline reported the aircraft returned due to technical reasons and landed safely. Technically, our pilots messed up. According to ADS-B data, the aircraft lined up on runway 30 left via taxiway Delta 5. Commenced takeoff in the direction of runway 30 left, and they were still on the ground at, as we mentioned before, 6,700 feet past the end of the runway. They were airborne at 50 feet, so yeah, just ahead of the motorway. That could have been a mess as well. According to air traffic control recordings heard by the Aviation Herald, the aircraft was cleared to line up runway 30 left at Delta 6. However, the aircraft entered the runway at Delta 5. ATC queried the crew and cleared the aircraft to backtrack on the runway to Delta 6. The crew, however, replied they were able to depart on 1,273 meters from Delta 5. They were wrong. The aircraft subsequently was cleared for takeoff. And then shortly after takeoff, the crew advised they needed to come back immediately. They had hit something on departure. Yeah, so well, I'm sure that they probably, Liz is saying, well, they didn't come back immediately, but they had to, run checklists and that sort of thing. And well, I don't know, Liz, I wasn't there.
Interesting, though.
I'm not sure. In this case, it's one of those things where you're not on fire, you're not running out of fuel. It's not a time critical kind of thing. I don't know what they were doing though during that time, during the holding pattern. Yeah, getting their story.
Yeah, waiting for the voice recorder to be overwritten.
Well, yeah. Well, what's the normal length right now? Not the 25 hours, but is it like 2.5 hours or 2 hours or something like that? They should have held for longer, I'm thinking.
Yeah, you're right. I was being facetious, of course.
Yes, of course.
Think I'm being.
I was wondering, at first I'm thinking, I'm wondering if they just looked at the data and interpolated it wrong in thinking it's like mixing up the opposite direction of the runway, thinking they had a lot more room. But according to the air traffic control tapes that Simon was talking about listening to, they said that they they replied they were able to depart on 1,273 meters from Delta 5. So, so much for that excuse.
Yeah. I don't know whether it's just the fact that they accepted a different runway length for takeoff, or they just fudged the figures, or they just possibly, made an error in their performance calculations as well as taking a shorter runway length. So we'll find out, I'm no doubt, in the inquiry when it's complete. Those runway lights did a lot of damage, didn't they? They really beat it up.
And it really made a big dent in the left horizontal stabilizer as well.
Now, they're supposed to be frangible. In other words, they're supposed to break on impact.
The lights, not the airplane.
Yes, indeed. But perhaps they put them on slightly more substantial poles than normal. But I'm not an expert, but I always remember being told that don't worry too much about the lights. If you overrun the runway, they're frangible, they should break up, which I guess they did, but they did a fair bit of damage to the aircraft at the same time. I'd like to point out, though, that belly fairing is not a structure as such. It's an aerodynamic covering, if it's anything like the one that's on the Airbus. So it's not that strong, so it's quite easy to knock a hole in it. It's not part of the aircraft's pressurized fuselage. However, the big score that goes through the aircraft, that is part of the aircraft skin.
Yeah,
yes, and
they're
the
going to have
huge
trouble
chunk out of the leading edge. Yes. They must be fairly substantial, those
could have
poles.
gone so much more badly.
Oh, indeed. Absolutely, yes. Because
so
everything worked for them. I mean, I guess that's part of the reason they felt comfortable drifting around for an hour, was they didn't have a significant number of faults indicating. Although with that damage to the leading edge, I'd be surprised if they didn't have pneumatic faults and hydraulic faults, because a lot of the wires and cables and pipes and things run through that sort of area. I'm not familiar with the ERJ, mind you. They might route them differently, but in the Airbus, that would have been a few of the things that would have gone wrong.
That may have been why they held for as long as they did. Maybe they were working through all the various
indeed, actually,
indications.
Yes.
Yeah. Tried to line up another job with a different carrier.
Yeah, that's right. On the phone. So they trundled along past the end of the runway by 1,650 feet. Now, a lot of light aircraft can get airborne at that distance. So, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. So it's likely we'll learn more as the investigation is started and continues with this. It'll be interesting to see exactly what was in their heads.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's continue with this next one from the Aviation Herald. It involves a Japan Airlines 787-8. They were performing Flight 65 from San Diego, California to Tokyo Narita. Departed Terminal 2 West on the ground there at San Diego and was taxiing for departure, runway 27. They were advised to expect backtracking on the runway and was cleared to taxi along taxiway Bravo and hold short of the runway at Bravo 8. But they missed the turn onto Bravo, continued straight onto Bravo 10, and went past the hold short line onto the runway. Meanwhile, a Delta Airlines Bombardier C-Series CS300, or Airbus, what do we call those, 220s? Registration 301 Delta Uniform, performing Flight 2287 from Seattle, Washington to San Diego, was on final approach to runway 9 and then was instructed to go around as a result of the runway incursion. The aircraft landed safely about 15 minutes later. The Japanese crew, told to hold position when the controller noticed the conflict, apologized. The Dreamliner departed about an hour later. Japan's Ministry of Transport reported the JAL aircraft entered a wrong taxiway. The pilot told them he noticed something was odd. At the same time, the controller alerted them. However, the aircraft had already gone past the hold short line. So obviously, well, it seems obvious to me. Liz, if you'll pop up the airport diagram, and that one right there is perfect. So they're departing Terminal 2 West, heading north toward the runway. So you'll notice there's like a dotted line that says A or Alpha. That's taxiway Alpha, the inner ramp. And then Bravo is basically the taxiway that runs along the edge of the ramp to the north of Alpha. So there's no real, like a separate Alpha and Bravo taxiway. It's just kind of all ramp area. And it's just the way that the signage and the paint lines are configured. And I've experienced this kind of thing, and I'm sure you have as well, Captain Nick. Sometimes it's confusing when they're designating certain taxiways on a continuous surface like this. And I can definitely see as you're going out, you're going to pass Alpha and then you're going to turn right on Bravo. Well, you don't recall as you're taxiing the airplane, it doesn't look like a great distance either. You're waiting to kind of pass another taxiway before you hang your right. And so that's probably what happened to the captain on this Japan Airlines flight. They come to the first taxiway that they see and hang a right on it. However, he's going, it doesn't look like a regular taxiway. That's because it's a runway. And so I can definitely see what happened here.
And quite often with those areas where there's just a huge expanse of concrete and everything's just painted on it, the white areas there will look very clear between Bravo 10 and Bravo 9 and Bravo 8. They look like they ought to be grass or something other than concrete. Often they're not. They're just a painted oval on the ground. And we all know that with the light in the wrong direction, I don't know if the ground was wet. Oh yeah, there was rain and mist, perhaps. Yeah, so the ground's wet. The painted markings are often completely invisible underneath light reflections. So, I'm gonna give the crew a lot of leeway here, particularly if they're not familiar. But having said that, if you're ever unsure, come to a halt and ask for guidance.
Yes. Liz was querying as to what time of day it was. And according to the METARs that have been bolded here in the article, looks like somewhere around 1951 to 2018 Z. And I think that's like a 7 or 8 hour offset. So it should be kind of like mid-afternoon. No, light rain, looks like, maybe not great visibility. So it's probably a dreary, what do they call that? The marine layer that kind of comes in off the Pacific, obscuring a lot, but it wasn't dark for sure. So, yeah. Anyway, again, we'll probably hear more regarding this one as well.
Did you ever fly into this airport, Jeff?
Yes.
Not
yes,
enough
I have.
to
I'm sorry,
recall.
Liz was asking me about the audio. I'm looking at my Evernote, Liz, and it says unable to load. So I guess that was the audio that I was supposed to play. Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, maybe I can stick that in on the audio only podcast. Yeah, that's what he said. But I have flown into San Diego many times back in the 90s when I was flying the 727. That was a pretty common place for me to fly to and out, into and out of. And also when I was flying the L1011 TriStar domestically, we also ended up landing at San Diego as well. So yeah, I have a lot of experience going in and out of that, but it's been, I don't know, 20 something years since I've been there. So it's been a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, there we go. Let's continue with this next one from, again, the Aviation Herald. A Lufthansa Airbus A319-100 was flying Flight 986 from Frankfurt Main to Amsterdam. Was my stomach noises, sorry. Was descending towards Amsterdam when the crew declared Mayday, reporting both generators had failed. Both engines, CFM56, were running. The RAT, the ram air turbine, had deployed. The generators were eventually recovered. The aircraft, but I guess they stayed on the accessory case. I guess the generators kind of came back online. The aircraft positioned for an ILS approach to runway 27 and landed without further incident and taxied to the apron. The aircraft, on January 12th, 2024. So this happened on November 10th of 2023. On January 12th of this year, the NTSB reported they have rated the occurrence a serious incident and are investigating, stating the ram air turbine deployed following the failure of both generators. The aircraft continued for a safe landing. Wait a minute. I can see now why there was like an exclamation point. The U.S. NTSB, why would they be? It's in Germany to Amsterdam, and it's an Airbus aircraft.
Yeah, interesting. Were there some Americans on board?
Oh, well, I don't think that's
requirement. Yeah, if you have the nationality of your passengers gives you access to the investigation. So it's usually run by the country where it occurred. But if you've got American passengers on board and you feel like it, you can put in NTSB officials into the inquiry. Perhaps they did that anyway, despite the fact that perhaps the Amsterdam authorities weren't going to make an inquiry. They weren't going to give it a significant look, see. So perhaps the NTSB said, well, we're going to anyway, thank you.
Or maybe the reason why they included the information about the engines, CFM56s, might be a clue, because those are American-made engines.
It's a conglomerate.
Or that's a conglomerate. But GE, I think, is part of that conglomerate that makes those CFM56s. So perhaps that's the reason. I don't know. But yeah maybe.
But a double Jenny failure is pretty damn rare. The normal cause for losing a generator in this kind of situation is an electrical fault on a buzz, which drags the generator down. And normally the buzz tie will break so that you don't then have the same fault bringing the other generator down. But perhaps the buzz tie was a bit slow in opening or moving, I should say, or perhaps it moved incorrectly and the same fault brought down both generators. Perhaps that's what they're looking at, because that would be quite a serious failing if a single fault brought down both generators.
Yeah. We have some comedians in our live audience. Tim Van Ram said investigators from Amsterdam and the FAA went Dutch on paying for the investigation. And Ludger, perhaps the NTSB wanted to investigate a faulty Airbus for once.
Yeah. By the way, in the simulator, when we used to practice emergency electrical configurations, it was a horrible day because that is a nightmare drill. The RAT comes out and helps you, but the emergency electrical configuration is a drill and a half. So I feel sorry for the crew having to perform that particular one, particularly for real.
Well, I think, had I read the entire thing, I would have seen at the very end of the article here, the Dutch Safety Board designated the investigation to the National Transportation Safety Board as the state of design and manufacturer of the IDGs and GCUs, the integrated drive generators and the drive or generator control units. That's what that stands for. So now we know why. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, thank you, Simon. Okay, speaking of Simon, we have another one from his wonderful website, Aviation Herald. And this involves a Wings ATR 72 212 Alpha registration Papa Kilo Whiskey Juliet Tango, performing flight 1646 from Jayapura to Dacai in Indonesia with 36 people on board. Was an approach to runway 7 at Dacai when the aircraft was shot at. The bullet penetrated the fuselage and exited inside the aircraft at seat row 19A through C. The aircraft continued for, I'd say 19A for sure, because that's right up against the window and the wall. The aircraft continued for a safe landing. There are no reported injuries. The aircraft's still on the ground at Dacai after 8 hours after landing. And then we're showing the bullet holes, and this one we're looking at right now is the one where the bullet actually entered into the cabin right there in that, and then the outside bullet hole right there. I mean, I'm wondering if somebody was purposely aiming at this airplane.
Well, yeah, I mean, somebody drew a big green circle on the aircraft to aim at, and he's put it right bang in the middle. Look at that.
Wow.
That's a pretty good shot,
accepted. Challenge accepted.
So, I have to say that's really nasty, because that height would have been perfect to take out somebody had they been sitting in that row.
Yeah.
Perhaps it was a proper sniper, an assassination attempt, but they got the seat number wrong.
Yeah. Instead of shooting an approach, they were shot on approach. Oh, very good. That deserves a rim shot if I could find it. But here.
Actually, I'm not sure if Indonesia is one of those countries where they celebrate weddings and things by firing a lot of guns.
Could be.
I mean, I know there are some countries that think that's good fun. But if you're near an airport, that's not good. But so we don't know if it was deliberate or just an accident. Yeah.
I think I'd prefer a laser in this case, though. Yeah, that's it. The laser. It's a coordinated laser / bullet attempt or something. I don't know. Yeah. It's a
dangerous job, this, isn't it, Jeff? Flying around.
It really is. It's a dangerous job being a passenger on an airplane.
Indeed.
Apparently. Okay. Yes, this is good. So I think it's time for me to add my media to the stage and try to find my window is this it right here? Oh, there's the thing I was going to play for the Japan Airlines. Right there. Oh, well, that's a fail. Yeah. So I think it's this one here. Yeah. Okay. This next item sent in to us by Captain Virtual. Let's see. It's a video. The title of which is Pilot Can't Fly IFR Because His iPad Has Died in Martinsburg, Virginia, I believe. And so we're going to go ahead and have a listen. Ooh, cool. New sound effect. It's from Real ATC.
November 7183 Victor, turn left heading 250, over.
Turn left heading 250.
November 7183 Victor, turn left heading 240 and descend to maintain 4,000. November 7183 Victor, turn left heading 170, direct Jaws route. Going the approach course straight in at Jaws route, maintain 4,000. November 7183 Victor, turn left heading 170, direct Jaws route when able, over. No, sir. I need you to take the airplane and point it at the fixed called Jaws route. It's on the RNAV approach course. Follow the approach course inbound at Jaws route, please. Mooney 7183 Victor, turn left heading 150, direct Jaws route intersection. Join the RNAV runway 8 approach, please. Mooney 7183 Victor, you're 2 miles from Jaws route. Cross Jaws Route at 4,000 feet. Cleared for the RNAV runway 8 at Martinsburg. Mooney 7183 Victor, cancel your approach clearance. Maintain 4,000. Turn left heading 090.
A3 Victor with a request, sir.
Yeah, I'm not doing any requests. 7183 Victor, I'm not sure what the problem is, but I've been speaking very slowly and very clearly, and I can't say things any simpler. If you require some kind of assistance or is this an emergency, you need to let us know. Mooney 7183 Victor, fly heading 090 over.
090, A3 Victor.
Mooney 7183 Victor, do you require any assistance?
I can terminate my IFR flight plan right now because I have a plate. I can get VFR and send it and do a VFR approach. I apologize for my iPad problem.
2718 Victor, stand by on that. The weather's not very good. I really don't want to cancel your IFR just yet. Where do you want to land?
Oh, I want to land in Martinsburg.
All right, and your IFR capable, the aircraft is IFR capable. Is that all correct?
That is all correct.
7183 Victor, any way you want to do it, go to Jaws Route intersection. I don't care how you do it, I'll stay out of your way. Just let me know when you're inbound on the approach at Jaws Route, please. Okay, I've been giving you vectors for the last 20 minutes, and it's been a struggle. Can you navigate on your own towards Jaws Route?
No.
All right, number 7183 Victor, continue left, turn heading 270. I'm going to point you straight in on the RNAV approach, but you've got to tell me that you're established on the approach course. At number 7183 Victor, turn left turn, heading 300, radar vectors for the straight-in RNAV, runway 8. Mooney 7183 Victor, turn left please, left turn heading 300. These are radar vectors for the straight-in runway 8 approach. Mooney 7183 Victor, do you understand that I need you to tell me that you're established on the approach course before that I can actually clear you?
Because my iPad died, I do not have the approach plate, and I can't identify this junction you're talking about.
Okay, so you're not capable of doing an RNAV approach then. You see, to do an IFR approach, you need IFR equipment and an iPad. I'm pretty sure you can't legally fly an RNAV approach with an iPad.
I can't fly with an iPad, but the iPad tells me where that intersection is, and my GPS will let me know when I'm there.
I see. So you do have a GPS on the airplane that will corroborate your information. So I'm going to put you on the approach course. I'll tell you when you're over Jaws Route, and from there you'll be able to fly the RNAV approach. Is that correct?
That's correct. A3 Victor.
All right, we'll get all that done for you. But I still want to hear you say that you're established on the approach course.
Roger, A3 Victor.
Thank you very much. November 7183 Victor, turn left heading 260. I'll give you a little bit more room for the approach.
260, A3 Victor.
Mooney 83 Victor, just fly heading 260. Just trying to give you a little bit more room for the approach. 260.
Heading 260, A3 Victor.
Number 7183 Victor, turn right heading 030.
030, A3 Victor.
November 7183 Victor, continue right turn, heading 050, join the runway 8 final approach course. November 7183 Victor, I understand it's a full stop. You are 2.9 miles from Jaws Route. Are you able to take the approach clearance now? Will you be able to join the approach, or do I need to turn you to the 80 heading to join the approach course? Won't the GPS final approach course pop up on your navigation equipment? Yeah, we're debating whether or not this is even legal for us to do, sir, because, our understanding is this is not a safe and legal approach. Ordinarily, you would see the approach course, you would know what you're doing. Are you able to do with a VOR or an ILS into Martinsburg? I appreciate your position, but we've been talking long enough that I'm going to get in some trouble here if things don't work out. So just give me a second. Number 7183 Victor, Martinsburg weather, it's broken 1,600 feet. I appreciate your willingness to go VFR, but I'm really not too comfortable with that. November 7183 Victor, are you able to do the ILS approach? We can get Martinsburg to pull up the ILS for you. November 7183 Victor, just verify you have the current weather and NOTAMs at Martinsburg. Last reported ceiling was 1,900 broken. 7183 Victor, radar service is terminated. Keep your current peak and go though so we can keep an eye on you. And frequency change approved. If you have any problems at all, call me back. We'll try to work something else out. I understand, but in the future, an iPad is a poor IFR navigation tool. It's a good aid, but I don't think you can fly an IFR RNAV approach off an iPad. Maybe I'm wrong. It's been a long time since I've flown IFR, but I don't know, man. It doesn't seem too good to me.
I was just leaning on it for the start and the play.
I hear you. I get it. It's not my first rodeo, but yeah, I mean, ILSs are a sure thing. VORs ain't bad. An RNAV approach off an iPad, sketchy.
For your time, I appreciate your help.
Guys, Ventures 310. Did you overhear what I was saying to that Mooney?
Affirmative, I did hear that.
Am I right? Can he fly? Can he do an RNAV approach off an iPad? Is there an IFR legal iPad?
As far as I'm aware, you have to use built-in equipment. You cannot use an iPad for an RNAV approach.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. Thank you.
Potomac Baron 655, you are correct.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
And you did a great job.
He ain't on the ground yet. We'll see.
I think he needs a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
2783 Victor, Martinsburg Tower is looking for you on 1243-2043. It's up to you. You can go over to them now or stay with me. Are you all right? You need any more help to get to Martinsburg? The airport's at your 3 o'clock and 7 miles.
Guess that was it. Okay. Well, that was, yeah, definitely sketchy. I think there must be some kind of a fundamental misunderstanding by the pilot of the Mooney. You know, the electronic flight bag, the iPad, or what's the popular program that people use on?
Was it ForeFlight?
ForeFlight, yeah. You know, it gives you the approach plate. It shows you overlaid, you know, your actual path if it's, you know, if you have the equipment to make it do that. But you cannot you cannot use the iPad solely as a substitute for built-in, you know, properly tested and certified instrument flying instruments on your airplane. It sounded to me that he was actually trying to fly solely using his iPad. I don't know. Maybe I have a misunderstanding of what he was trying to do. But if you have a system that you are able to fly RNAV approaches that are a system that is built into your instrumentation, your avionics on your airplane, when you enter the approach name, the RNAV to runway 8, it should clearly show you in some kind of a expression, most likely a nav map display, the fixes, ROSU or whatever the fix was that he was trying to, JAWSRU or whatever that they were trying to, you know, he was trying to send the pilot to. So why was he having trouble seeing that? I don't understand.
No, you're quite right. I considering the restrictions on us, mind you, we're, you know, commercial airlines, and our nav accuracy required in order to fly an RNAV approach, they were very stringent. You had to confirm that all your accuracies were within the correct limits to be able to fly that kind of an approach. And I don't know if an iPad will even give you a level of accuracy to, authorize you to fly the approach. And I don't know if you need to. If you're a GA pilot just bumbling around, I don't know what kind of minimum requirement there is. So, it's outside my experience. Perhaps if there's a GA pilot that does a lot of IFR, we would quite like to hear, what you think. But I know I used to have, particularly when we first got the iPads, I used to plug in a GPS aerial in, and I'm trying to think, it was something called Green Goblin or something. It was a GPS receiver, which made the iPad very accurate, and it would track down the approach plate. While we were flying the airplane using the aircraft equipment, I was glancing across at this iPad going, that's really not bad. You could more or less fly it on the iPad if you wanted to.
Like within 5 meters or something, I think.
Well, yeah,
Usually.
You've got a little airplane symbol, and you've got the approach, and all you do is put one on top of the other.
Something devil or something like that. I know what you're talking about. It's like a little.
Yeah, I mean, I left it on the airplane once, and I never saw it again because it's sitting in some engineer's pocket, I expect now. I always blame the engineers, but it could just as equally be in another pilot's pocket. Because, it was a really neat piece of kit. It wasn't cheap either. Anyway, fascinating. And I don't know if he was actually using instruments that the iPad was sort of fudging for him. And it reminded me that I've got something on my phone called Spyglass. And I don't know if you can see that, but it provides you with a head-up display kind of thing. It can give you pitch bars. It's got a compass attached to it. It'll show you roll angles. It's very clever. It's got GPS, so it'll give you waypoints, all that kind of stuff. And I put it on my phone because I thought, one day if we get all our instruments fail, all those backups fail, well, I can still prop that up in the windshield and have a go using that.
iHaul Boxes points out, I haven't been keeping up with all this new technology, but Apple apparently has the IFR kit, the iPad flight rules. It doesn't require you to subscribe to ForeFlight. It comes with Apple Maps.
Apple Maps, there you go. Brilliant.
That and the thing that you just showed us, that spy whatever, I mean, now you're good to go. Who needs avionics? They're expensive. Let's see, going back to Luger's comment about, he says, I had the impression that he tried to fly the approach with reference to the plate on the iPad only, but the own-ship position, his aircraft position, did not show up. Totally illegal. Even if it did show up, it's still illegal. That's just for reference. It's not for actually flying an approach.
Yeah. There you go. Bad Elf. That was the name of that GPS kit.
Bad Elf. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks, Neil.
I had one of them too. In fact, I probably have one in some little bin somewhere. Not a trash bin, but like a regular plastic storage bin. Interestingly, so Delta was one of the last major airlines to actually start getting the approval to show your own ship position on some of these flight publications in your electronic flight bag, because I don't know if this is true. It's almost hard for me to believe, but the concern apparently in the management realm was that we were going to use our iPads to fly instrument approaches. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? What? Did you really think that we were going, that would happen? And apparently that was the reluctance. Now that could be that could be a story, but Oh, wait. Oh, UH Blackhawk in our audience says, for the longest time, the FAA wouldn't let us turn on own ship. They were afraid someone would use it for primary nav. We said, who would be stupid enough to do that? So I think that's the problem here, that a lot of the people that thought that that could be a problem are people that don't really get into airplane cockpits very often and actually fly. Because if they did, then they would realize how stupid that concern would be, I think.
My other concern about this situation is that if this guy did a proper instrument flying course and got himself rated, he would have been taught the restrictions about what kit he can use to fly IFR. And either he's deliberately breaking those rules or he's never been formally rated.
I suspect that
and never
that
discovered
might be the
that.
case. Yeah, it might be a do-it-yourself IFR rating that he was utilizing.
You can get one online. Yeah.
How hard can this be? You just got to have an iPad and have a signal. Yeah, the controller was very good. You could tell he was losing his patience.
Just a little bit.
A bit.
He hung on. Well, because after all, there's this guy's life at the end of this.
Exactly. He was concerned for a fellow human. And Tim Van Ram says probably would have worked on the iPad had he put it in airplane mode. There you go.
Oh, God.
Wow.
Oh, Lord.
That's
give me a break.
But, so it was nice that he was reluctant to, he can't force him not to, not cancel IFR and go VFR. He tried to talk him into, no, don't do that. I'm concerned. So, it shows a level of concern of this controller in addition to the level of frustration that he had as well. But he was like, I don't know if this is a good idea or not. Now, I mentioned Martinsburg. I said Virginia. It's West Virginia, actually. And it's a pretty good long runway, good facilities and everything else. In fact, it's where our Captain Pyzik in the APG community flies for the Air Force Reserve C-17s. So they have a reserve unit that's stationed there at Martinsburg, West Virginia. And so
they put those damn things down on the beach.
Well, they do, yeah. But this is, trust me, I've seen this airport and I've flown over. In fact,
it's nice, isn't it?
Dispatcher Mike and I. No, was it? Yeah, it was Dispatcher Mike and I think. Or no. It was another APG community member and pilot. We flew from the DC area over to Pennsylvania years ago, and on the way to go see the United Airlines the memorial for 9/11. Shanksville. Thank you. Is where we were headed, and on the way we flew almost like right over the top of Martinsburg. West Virginia, that airport. Very nice airport. Anyway, so that's kind of, sadly, we're probably never going to know exactly what happened here. If he really had the idea that you could legally fly his GA airplane using just an iPad or not, I don't know. Anyway.
Well, I'm sure we've started a discussion now that'll probably reverberate for a few shows.
Episodes, yeah. Maybe somebody will be able to chime in, give us the answer to our questions. All right. This is from this next one, a preliminary report on the Grumman Cougar crash. Sam Dawson sent this news item to us. In a previous episode, you discussed this crash. This is the NTSB's preliminary report. The last 3 paragraphs on page 3 are interesting. The right fuel cap was missing a rubber gasket that helps to keep water from entering the fuel tank. The right engine fuel system showed evidence of water and debris. In addition, the report talks about the pilot in command being in a rush. Okay, those are not good ingredients for a safe operation. Let's see. I'm not going to read the whole preliminary report. We'll have this in the show notes. But as Sam was mentioning, according to company and airport employees at Chester County, G.O. Carlson Airport, Mike Quebec Sierra. The pilot arrived around 12:30 and made it clear that he was in a hurry, and he had a return flight from Knoxville, Tennessee, booked at 1800 that evening. He called the fuel truck multiple times and indicated to the linesmen that he was in a hurry and was not pleased with their delayed response to his fuel request. The airplane's 116-gallon fuel system was serviced with 80 gallons of fuel, which reached to the tabs in each fuel tank. According to witnesses and surveillance video, the pilot did not obtain fuel samples from the airplane's fuel tanks prior to takeoff. And that's, what do we call that? Draining the sump. Going under the wing and having your what is it called? A sump drain device? Come on, help me out, people in the
It's a little
live audience.
pokey thing with a cup underneath it.
Yeah, that you
stick up into a valve.
Yeah, you push it upward into the valve on the underside of the wing where the wing fuel tank is, and fuel comes into the thing, and then water and fuel do not mix well, and the water drops to the bottom, I believe, because water is heavier.
Yeah, the water's heavier,
fuel.
isn't it?
Yeah, and it's going to collect right there at the bottom of that fuel tank. You always do that. You always.
Yeah, because it only takes a few seconds, and that's how you work out if the damn thing's safe to fly.
Right. They disassembled the right engine carburetor and revealed an intact float. The mixture cable, throttle arm were all secured to the carburetor. Fuel drained from the bowl was blue in color and contained visible water and debris. So the blue color is indicating that he had the proper fuel in the fuel tanks, but the visible water and debris is not something you'd want to see.
And the test said it detected water in the fuel.
Oh, not good.
No.
Yeah, so that is definitely a concern, and that might be the reason why at least one of the engines, sounds like the right engine, may have failed. And as we talked about earlier, this particular airplane especially, it's a twin-engine airplane, but these airplanes are not certified to the same level that transport category aircraft are. And the losing an engine in a light twin, especially an underpowered light twin like this Grumman, is not like you can fly around all day on that remaining engine. It's more like you have a little bit of control about where you're going to crash land, essentially.
Yeah. That's what we used to say about the Jaguar jet fighter. Its engines were so weak and feeble. If one failed, the other one would take you to the scene of the crash.
Yep. I agree. All right. Let's continue on with this again from the Aviation Herald, Simon Ratke's great aviation site. It's a preliminary report on a United Nigeria Embraer ERJ-145. They were performing a flight from, Abakaliki to Lagos with 50 people on board, landed at Lagos's runway 18 left at about 1500 local, but veered right off the runway and came to a stop on soft ground with the nose gear collapsed. There were no injuries. The airline reported the aircraft was forced to terminate its movement to the apron off the runway.
What?
They were forced to terminate.
It was the aircraft that was forced. Nothing to do with the pilots.
I don't even think it would have made it if the pilots had tried to move it from their position off the runway to the apron. Passengers reported the aircraft was rolling out on Wednesday afternoon when about halfway through the landing rollout, the aircraft began to shake due to tire detachment and went off the runway. Let's see. 50 people on board, 2 flight crew, 2 cabin crew. They go into some details of the flight here. Was there I don't think there was any indication of any issue before they landed. It looks like normal conversations between Tower and the pilots of this flight. Weather was good at the time, no rain, no precipitation of any sort. During the landing roll, Tower observed the aircraft veer off to the right of the runway center line onto the grass verge between link 3 and 4, coming to stop on the grass. And then they said, "Mayday, mayday, mayday." And Tower activated the crash alarm. Aerodrome rescue and firefighting services moved to the site immediately. Anyway, all the passengers disembarked normally without injury. And yeah, great weather. And I guess the nose gear just collapsed. Yeah, nose gear, landing gear assembly collapsed. Not good. Sounds like there was nothing they could do.
Well, I don't know. Do we know why? What did they burst a tire or?
It doesn't say.
Problem with the nozzle steering or something? Oh well.
Well, let's see. Oh, they do mention here an immediate safety recommendation to the operator, the NSIB. United Nigeria Airlines should ensure compliance with Embraer Service Bulletin 145-32.0099. The safety bulletin or service bulletin recommended upgrading the nose wheel steering hydraulic manifold, which required inspecting specific dimensions that were considered critical for the proper operation of the O-ring seals within the... Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, darn it. I wish I had thought of the fact that you're going to do that. To ensure that they were within tolerance limits. So that might be a little clue
That
to...
could be. You
maintenance
never know.
wasn't complied with. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah, it's not United Airlines, it's United Nigeria Airlines. I don't think there's any connection between the two other than the name United. All right, and continuing on with this from Fortune.com. Misfortune for Mr. Ed Clark. Boeing ousted the head of its 737 MAX program, shaking up management less than 2 months after the mid-air blowout that's led to withering scrutiny of manufacturing quality at the U.S. plane maker. Ed Clark, who helped ramp up 737 production in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic, is stepping down immediately after nearly 18 years at Boeing, the company said Wednesday. Katie Ringgold succeeds him as vice president and general manager of the 737 program and Boeing's factory in Renton, Washington. Boeing also promoted production chief Elizabeth Lund to a new post as senior vice president of quality at Boeing Commercial Airplanes. She will also serve on the executive committee as chair of the plane maker's Quality Operations Council. Yeah, the management changes are the first undertaken since the company was plunged into crisis after a door plug exploded off of a nearly new 737 MAX on January 5th. Turns out, as we know now, the 4 bolts that were to keep the door plug from shifting in a vertical plane ended up not being installed. They were missing completely from the aircraft. And eventually the door plug was able to move vertically. And once that happened, they were off the stops and it just popped that thing off when the aircraft pressurized. UH Blackhawk in our live audience says he is pursuing endeavors in other areas of the aviation industry. Yeah. He's looking for a job because he just got fired, even though it says he resigned. Yeah. There we go. So, at least it looks like Boeing's trying to do something to kind of, salvage the
This
ship.
kind of a situation where the shares have tumbled 23% this year. They need to be seen to be doing something. The usual trick is just to fire somebody. And depending on the seriousness of the problem, the higher rank of the person they fire. So, yeah.
All right. This one's from the aviationsafety.net. It was a Pilatus PC-12, and this occurred while landing at Courchevel, France. Did I say that? Courchevel? Let's see, European Aircraft Private Club Flight PGC 16F, a Pilatus PC-12, performing a ferry/positioning from Brussels South Charleroi Airport, suffered a runway excursion during a landing attempt at the Courchevel Altaport. At first, when I was reading this, I saw Altaport, and I'm thinking, oh, they really butchered airport, but apparently Altaport is a thing, and we'll have a link to the
what
Wikipedia.
kind of a thing is it?
Well, it's a place that I should have probably kept this readily available so that I could read from the Wikipedia. Maybe somebody can pull that up and they can. Yeah, the runway. It's an airport
interesting.
that has interesting characteristics, like a launching ramp.
Ski ramp.
Yeah. Alta. What is it? Alta. What's it called again? Please, somebody. Alta Port. An altaport is an aerodrome for small airplanes and helicopters situated on or within mountainous terrain. Altaports are generally characterized by having a runway with an atypical slope to fit in the local topography. Ultimately, this slope helps aircraft decelerating when landing and assists acceleration when taking off. So there you go. That's what an altaport is. And we're looking at some of the pictures. Yeah, the left wing is completely off the aircraft, and apparently there was no fuel spill, so I guess the tank inside that left wing stayed intact.
Wow.
That's pretty, or maybe they did have a little bit of leakage, but it could have been a big boom, perhaps.
So he came in a bit low and hit the end of the runway a bit. What does that mean? I wonder.
A bit. Well, a bit. Enough to shear off the left wing, but not to completely implode or explode the airplane, apparently. That would have been
because the height of that snow bank there beside the runway, I thought for a minute that he managed to dig his wing into the snowbank and it'd have torn off that way, but no, I don't think so.
I'm not sure. There was that Liz is showing a snapshot from a security camera that runs at 15-minute intervals in time-lapse mode. And so when I was going through some of the images, this was the image that occurred right after the PC-12 had impacted the start of the runway. And the one 15 minutes prior, I didn't even see the airplane coming in for landing. It was just a completely bare runway surface at the time. So I'd hoped that there would be some video of the whole event, but apparently not. Yeah, beautiful day there. Beautiful mountains and snow.
Yeah, I found a picture a bit further down, which is part of a YouTube there. Now, there's a fair bit of space between the sides of the runway and the snowbanks by the looks of it. So, no, it just looks like he dinked his wing on the landing and it fell off.
Could have been, again, a lot worse.
Yeah, but
yeah, I think they've had several accidents in the past at this altaport. A little tricky. I would think so, yeah. All right, and let's see. It's not finally. I was going to say finally, but we're getting close to the end of the news segment. Aviation Herald again. Update after the final report. Okay, so we did talk about this final report. This incident involved Singapore 777-300 that was performing a flight from London Heathrow to Singapore. And so they departed London with 106,164 kilograms of fuel. While they were descending towards Singapore, Singapore approach told the crew to expect 20 right for landing. Flight management computer indicated they would land with 7,000 kilograms of fuel, remaining well above the 3,084 kilograms of required final reserve fuel. 4 minutes later, approach instructed the crew to enter a hold due to tailwind for 20 right. The weather radar on board of the aircraft showed the aerodrome was receiving heavy precipitation, a lot of convective activity that day. Alternate air. Yeah, it's just our effort to confuse everybody that happens to be watching the video. Yeah, there we go. So anyway, basically what happened here is the weather was not great. There were waves of convective activity covering the airport, and this flight ended up holding for a while and then decided to switch to the alternate airport. And long story short, they burned through a heck of a lot of fuel. There were several things that had happened on the many attempts to land at Batam, and they ended up finally getting the airplane on the ground after several attempts. And so that we had kind of finished talking about this. However, there was a question about how much fuel was actually remaining. It just said that it was well below the final reserve fuel of 3,024 kilograms. It turns out, and it's as hard to believe, the actual fuel that they had available when they finally ended up stopping the flight, 362.87 kilograms, which is about 800 pounds. 800 pounds of fuel in a 777. That's not a lot of fuel at all. That's like 10% of your required final reserve fuel. Man, I'm glad that we were talking about this as an incident and not an accident where they ran out of fuel and crashed. Oh, are you muted, Captain Nick? Because I'm not hearing anything from you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. They came so close, didn't they? So close.
Yes. Very scary.
Interesting. I mean, I did read the assessment of by the inquiry on the commander's decisions or the crew's decisions, and it's pretty long and involved, and I don't necessarily agree with it all, but because a lot of this is, we see now what you did wrong.
Right.
But at the time, when you're working from just actuals and forecasts, and you don't really know what the weather's going to do, their decision to divert, they're basically criticized for hanging around too long before attempting a diversion, which meant the weather was moving into their diversion. It's a terrible situation to be put into as a commander when you're getting low on fuel and you've left somewhere with bad weather, and the place you're going to, all of a sudden that sucks in as well. It's just horrible. So I've got sympathy with the crew, but they do make the point that if he had diverted when he initially told air traffic he was going to, he probably would have been fine. Would have got there ahead of the weather. But of course, he wasn't guaranteed to know how fast that weather was moving and that it wouldn't still be reasonable when he got there. Lots of areas there. And also, they make the point that at one point they were doing an auto land. And because the localizer final course and the auto land checks that the system does revealed that there was a 1 degree error in the course between what was required and what they had. They got a no auto land message, even though the flight crew they were in sight of a landing runway. They elected to go around, and I'm going, of all the decisions to make, you may not have understood exactly at the time why you got a no auto land message, but it's irrelevant. If you can see the damn runway,
exactly,
the auto land isn't going to stop you from landing on it. You like we said at the time, click, turn the damn thing off.
Exactly. Yeah, we really went into a lot of detail of the final report a few months back. I don't remember what episode it was, but the reason why we have it in today's show is just to basically a little addendum, because we still had that question, like, well, how much did they have remaining?
Yeah, and that really is half crown, 6 months time when you've got that little fuel.
Okay, just received word from producer Liz that Nick Camacho is not going to be able to join us today. So it's just the two old retired dudes.
Afraid
and
so.
the
Sorry
retired producer. So 3 retired people.
Oh, look, everyone's leaving the chat room.
Oh, no. Yeah, sorry, everybody. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Oh, this is a little disgusting for sure. Again, from the Aviation Herald. A Delta Airlines Airbus A330-300, registration November 821 Northwest NW, performing flight 133 from Amsterdam to Detroit, was en route at flight level 340, about 30 nautical miles east of Manchester, when the crew decided to return to Amsterdam. The crew requested an autoland back into Amsterdam. ATC told them approach could not guarantee the aerial would be free and would require some delay. The crew accepted a delay, which subsequently got canceled. The aircraft performed an autoland on Amsterdam's runway 18 right, about 90 minutes past departure. I'm not really sure why all that information was included in there and why it was so important that they have to do an autoland approach. But see if you feel the same way after we read a little bit more. The reason why we're talking about this incident and the reason why they decided to turn around and land back at Amsterdam was a passenger reported he noticed a fellow passenger was brushing maggots off of their seat besides her with a piece of paper. The woman subsequently explained the maggots appeared to be falling from the overhead bins. Alerted cabin crew opened the overhead bin to determine where the maggots came from. About 10 maggots fell down upon opening the bin. The maggots were traced to a bag in the overhead bin. Upon opening of the bag, everybody near the bag held their noses. The owner of the bag explained it contained fish wrapped in newspaper. Cabin crew wrapped the bag into plastics and took it to the back of the aircraft. In the meantime, other passengers started to look out for maggots too, using flashlights on their mobile phones. The flight crew subsequently announced that they were returning to Amsterdam. The airline reported the aircraft returned due to an improperly packed carry-on bag.
It was improperly packed with maggots.
Yeah. Passengers were rebooked onto the next available flights. God. The aircraft was taken out of service for deep cleaning. Oh, boy. It remained on the ground for another 26 hours, and then they positioned to Detroit, so they didn't put passengers on it. And it's currently still on the ground in Detroit, about 52 hours. Of course, this is a while back, but I don't know if it's still on the ground there or if it's finally been cleaned well enough. Yeah, how does that even get through TSA? That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe
probably doesn't show up on the detectors,
and maybe it just wasn't quite ripe enough at that point to be able to smell it.
Yeah.
Let's see. When maggots, this is the new safety briefing. When maggots drop from the overhead panels, place them over your nose and mouth and breathe normally. Not good.
Oh, dear.
Bill Aronic says, sounds fishy to me. How did it get through security? Yeah, same kind of question that IHAL boxes. Yeah, I think it was a very fishy situation. Possible show title.
So they were given 8,000 free air miles, hotel room compensation, and $30 meal tickets at the fish restaurant. Yes.
The fish and chips here is wonderful.
Yes, indeed. We serve it in newspaper.
Maggot free, though. All right. This last one. Oh, good. You know, we always have to have at least one article from Paddle Your Own Canoe. Let's see. TSA officers discover two more. They didn't discover the fish, but they did discover 2 mortar rounds in a passenger's luggage at Ontario Airport in California. Yeah, I think Miami Rick does fly through Ontario quite a bit, and he does have quite a mortar collection.
Yeah,
not anymore. Yeah, well, A passenger was stopped at an Ontario airport in California earlier this week with 2 81mm mortar rounds in their luggage as they were discovered by TSA officers during routine screening. Thankfully, both the mortar rounds were inert, but whether decommissioned or not, mortar rounds are most definitely banned from both hand baggage and checked-in luggage. In a cheeky post on social media site X, and we know what it was before, we don't have to say it anymore. The TSA reminded passengers to always double check what they have in their luggage, lest they forget you've forgotten that you've got some explosives stashed in their bags. In this case, it doesn't sound like the passenger got in much trouble for trying to bring these prohibited items onto a commercial airliner, but it doesn't always end so well. In 2021, in fact, a teenage Italian tourist in London ended up being jailed for 2 months after trying to bring a decommissioned hand grenade on a plane at Heathrow Airport. He was quickly surrounded by armed police after security officers detected the
grande.
Oh, he had a very large cup of coffee? What?
Yes, indeed he did. With a hand grenade in it.
During routine X-ray screening of his hand luggage. So, it's not the... I-haul boxes passenger, a Mason? Oh, that's bad. Liz, that wasn't even worth pointing out to anybody. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, what else to say other than news is over. Let's get on with getting to know us. Thankfully. Oh, thank you. Getting to know us. The time of the show where we get all caught up with what has been happening with at least a couple of us on the crew. Yeah. So, Captain Nick, how have you been? Now, that was kind of a down feeling the last show because your one of your pets had been was quite ill.
Yeah, I'm afraid that down feeling got even worse because Rusty, our oldest of our 3 dogs, sadly her illness was too bad for her to survive. So we said our goodbyes after a week of trying really hard for her to pull through and hoping. But in the end, it was all too little, too late. They really didn't find out the exact cause either. So, but she was dreadfully ill. So that was sadly a very unhappy ending to that little scene. But we kind of have a pet cemetery in our garden. So I set to and we put her in beside the 4 other big dogs that we have in there. We've got a Doberman, a German Shorthair Pointer, and 2 Wieslers in that little plot, now joined by another Wiesler. So we've got quite a little collection down there, and hopefully they're all bouncing around, having leapt over the Rainbow Bridge together. So that was very unhappy, but life goes on. We've still got 2 lovely dogs to look after, and they're now our priority. So that was sad. Apart from that, not much else really. Life goes on with the usual. No, there was nothing special at all. Just the cover up, perhaps to talk about. We had some interesting suggestions on 606. That, of course, there was the 9th seat of the passenger who, on this particular, some King Air, I think, if they wanted to go flying, they had to sit on the toilet, which converted into a seat for takeoff and landing. I'm not sure how they coped with that during flight if someone wanted to go to the loo, but there you go. So we had that. We had APG baffle gab. That was someone's suggestion. I can't remember quite where that phrase came from.
Yeah, somebody in our
Jeff cracks the case. That was another suggestion. Oh, yeah, the white van on the runway. Right. Yeah, we had a thing about trauma counselling, but the main one that took the bacon was the sewage showers. And there you go. So I've immediately thought of a SIG weather chart, because that's where you get all the weather. Found one of those, and we suitably modified it with a koala bear flying a helicopter. That it was indeed a helicopter that dropped the sewage, discharging a lot of poo on Perth, where it all occurred. And while we were at it, of course, I tinkered with the chart a bit. So it says in the bottom right corner, cat areas. Referring, of course, Jeff, to cat areas, clear air turbulence.
Oh, yes,
so,
clear air turbulence. If you go to the full one
I put actual cats instead of the clear air turbulence symbols, which are normally a little upturned V. And on the other corner, we have the chart's details. So it's an SH1T weather. Fixed time Bafflegab chart, valid, and of course it was valid at the time of the show on the 16th of February, and provided by APG, AVMET, and issued by Acme London. So they're all very formal. And if you look around the chart, there are some funny things. At the bottom there, in between the show title sent lines, you'll see flight level 606, the show number. Yeah. And you can also see beside the helicopter, occasional embedded Jeffs. The show logo is shaped like a revolving tropical storm.
Very nice.
Tropical cyclone NN. I don't know quite why they put N. Perhaps it's not named, but that's just making landfall in the Northern Territories. We've got
Tropical Storm NA for Nick Anderson.
Oh, well, that would have worked, yeah. But I'm not very stormy. I see there actually is another Tropical Storm NN. So again, I'm thinking, I wonder why. Perhaps that does mean not named. There are some plenty of volcanoes around, and hidden by the ear of the koala is a volcano called Liz. At the top, you've got Steffi. You've got D. Nico for the two Nicks, and Suwano's Rick. So there you go. That was got all our names in at least. I think that was all tricks I played on it.
In that.
I was just messing about. It was good fun.
Yeah.
Nice so that was the cover up. God knows what will happen this week. I don't know what. Found out what's going to happen. 607.
Probably has something to do with poop.
No, I hope not.
They always seem
had
to.
Enough poop for a week. Oh yeah, maggots. That would be good.
Well, let's see. I've been doing the normal singing and stuff. Not a lot going on between last show and this one. However, this weekend there are going to be a lot of things happening. I'm going to get to meet up with at least 2 APG community members. First, I mentioned it before, Jim Mercado, our brand ambassador for the APG, is going to be visiting me here in Roswell on Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. He kind of made a special alteration to his trip. He's up in Knoxville at a Cirrus aircraft event, and it's very serious. And he altered his plan so that he could come through Atlanta and fly out of Atlanta on Sunday morning back home to Northern California. So I'm going to get a chance to meet up with Jim. And also, Dave Lieb is in town, or is going to be in town. I think right now he's in Savannah, but he has some family here. He's going to be staying down at the airport, the Ramada Concourse, the Renaissance Concourse, not Ramada. It's much nicer than a Ramada. that's where we held half of the 500th episode celebration, right there near the Delta General offices and lots of other great aviation-related businesses and concerns. And speaking of Delta, every year the Delta Museum puts on Hops in the Hangar. And this weekend is that event on Saturday evening. No, I am not going to be in attendance. Perhaps some of you listening right now, if you're listening to the normally published audio podcast, you're probably not hearing this until Monday, at least, of the following week. But if you're listening to this live right now and you happen to be in the Atlanta area and attending Hops in the Hangar at the Delta Museum, keep an eye open for Dave Lee, because he's going to be there. And we are also going to meet up, or I'm going to meet up with Dave on Sunday evening while he's still here. I think he leaves on Monday. So after the 5 o'clock Mass on Sunday evening, I'm going to head down and visit with Dave. Yeah. Speaking of ambassadors, for sure, we have Stefan, who has, I think last time we saw him spreading the APG word was in Argentina, I believe, Buenos Aires. And now this one, he's in Cape Town, South Africa, wearing his APG cap and spreading the word about the Airline Pilot Guy show. So thank you, Stefan. Appreciate that. And definitely looking good. Let's see, what else was I going to mention? I mentioned Jim and I mentioned Dave. Oh yeah, and then Captain Jour from KLM is going to, or I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say what airline. If not, just forget what I just said. Yeah, he's going to be in town on a layover, and he wants to get together and have some good old barbecue and local beer and kind of share that great conversation with as many folks as we can round up. So if you're interested in meeting up with Captain Jour and perhaps some members of his crew and myself and whoever else, just send us an email to meetup at meetup at airline. Yeah, but I'm the one that made that. I'm not sure if that's correct or not, but I think that's the right email address, meetup at airlinepilotguy.com. And let us know if you're interested in, joining us. And hopefully we'll be able to give you more information about what we've come up with between now and then. So that's, I think, everything. Oh, no. I didn't write it down here in the note. But before we go to the coffee fund, I wanted to share this. So, Super Bowl was what? A little over a week ago and, or 2 weeks ago? Well, it was on a Monday. So it was about a week and a half ago. And one of the events at a lot of these big games, big football games, usually involves some kind of a fly over or fly past or whatever you want to call it, depending on where you're from. In this case, it was the Air Force precision flying team, the Thunderbirds. And the problem is, though, that this was inside a fully enclosed venue. So there was no open air. You couldn't look up and see. But they did have a bunch of cameras trained on the Thunderbirds as they flew over. And I forgot exactly how I found this, but found some video of the team before, or in fact, while we're listening to this. I'll continue to talk while we're listening to it. You can actually hear some of the background, the music that's happening underneath them. They're on the roof of this arena in Las Vegas. They got these big backpacks with big giant aerials, for antennas for communication, radio communications with the team. And forgot how far into this you actually start hearing some of the music from the auditorium.
Back to boss, standby TOT Foxtrot.
I'm hearing something that sounds like music. They're communicating with the aerial team. Somebody's singing the national anthem of the United States of America. Broad stripes. Perilous skies. Okay, we're showing some guys with laser guns, I think. Or bright LEDs. I'm not sure what kind of signal it's giving to the Thunderbirds. That was the rockets' red glare. Bombs bursting in air.
Hey guys, it's over here.
Yeah. Well, they should definitely be able to see that.
Yeah.
And okay, so they're talking about timing. Okay, so if you look at the buildings in the background of this, it looked like something is starting to rise from one of them, and it's actually the smoke trail of the Thunderbirds. It's kind of extending upward, and here soon you'll be able to see them fly through some of the fireworks here at the very end of the national anthem. Home of the brave. Okay, there's the ending fireworks, and there's the Thunderbirds flying by. Pretty darn good time.
Oh, what a shame. They were 5 seconds late.
I don't. It depends. I'm not sure exactly where they were supposed to be. If they were supposed to be right over the top, when I'm not sure. But pretty close, I'd say. They seem to be pretty. They're celebrating. Job well done. And this next one is just a little bit of a clip of the scene inside. I think this was the number 2 guy in the front. Oh wait, that's so loud. Let me. How do I turn that down? Let's see. Because it's just blowing my ears out. Okay. Try that again. There we go. That was
That's
it.
very neat camera, that, isn't it? It's lovely.
It is. I'm sure that's going. Good thing we don't monetize our videos, because I'm pretty sure that we'll get a strike on that one. The NFL things.
Yeah.
Oh well. Should have just.
No, I think it's nice that they actually did a proper fly past, because they could have pre-recorded that and just played it over the TV screens in the stadium, couldn't they? But,
they could have, yes.
No, they did it for real.
Yeah.
That's good.
I thought that was kind of interesting, and then people that listen to our show, watch our show, I thought might enjoy seeing some of the behind-the-scenes coordination for these fly passes.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
As I Haul Boxes says, America.
Yeah. Hey guys, just fly left of the MGM pyramid. There you go.
Of course, with the fireworks going off the top of this thing,
it wouldn't be hard.
It's pretty obvious where they should be.
Find it. I love it.
Okay, coffee fun time. Yes.
Woohoo.
All right, so that means I have to push
fancy
a
a
button
coffee.
to make the music start. There we go. I was waiting for the music to start.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee, I love tea, I love the APG community. Coffee and tea, and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Oh yeah, the Coffee Fund. It's your opportunity to join this wonderful group of folks who support us financially. A couple different ways to do it. One is the Coffee Fund Classic method, the OG. Is via PayPal, and I had it, Liz. Let me go back to that. There we go. Since the last episode, we have a couple who used that method, the original method, to give us a nice contribution. Jenny in Rome, who does a recurring contribution, but I guess she decided that we just needed a little bit more, so she gave a little extra. So thank you, Jenny. And Andre Balak, I'm hoping that's the way you pronounce that, Andre Balak. Thank you so much for your very nice, generous contribution, Andre. And we also have a different way of becoming supporters of the show financially, and that is via Patreon. You can become a patron. And we have a new producer. Yay! Producer Kevin Shaw joined us. So if you're interested in learning how you can also become a producer of the show via Patreon, or want to use the OG method, head over to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee. You'll be glad you did. And we will too. And I need to take a break. Yeah, Captain Nick's not back anyway. So, Liz, if you want, you can pop yourself into the screen and start talking with these nice people. There we go. And we're going to do this. We're going to go like that layout. Okay. Oh, anyway, I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure. No problem. Was I a bit too long? Sorry about that. Oh, here I am in the corner. Better. Oh, Jeff's gone off for a wee now, has he? All right, okay. Oh, well, I don't know what I'm going to say. Except that, of course, that it's typical of the United States Air Force that they have to have 2 sets of fireworks, 5 blokes on the roof with huge, great big lights to find an enormous stadium that's right beside some of the most unique landmarks in the entire of the United States. But and all the nav kit that's in an F-16. But far be it from me. I suppose the fact is, if you're going to do a fly past such an amazing event like the Super Bowl, you want to use every aid you can to make sure you can find the place. But there you go. Horrible, thank you. It's absolutely filthy, the weather here. It's been pouring for about 3 days solid. No, not nice. I keep forgetting to put the cover on my car because the soft top is absolutely sodden. But there you go. Well, it will, but it's starting to turn green. That's the problem. Yeah. Oh well. I shall attack it with some nice cleaning fluid, and we'll get that sorted. But yeah. So what's the feedback going to be like, Liz? Is it going to be good today? Good mixture. Okay. It looks like a reasonable amount. We've got like 12, perhaps 10. Oh, with any luck, yeah, indeed. I was just thinking about, the next plane tale, because I must think about that. Someone backed into my driver's door in a car park. Oh, God, yes. That's just such a nightmare, isn't it? Because they never leave their damn address so you can claim off their insurance, do they? They just run away. Although I did notice the number of, if you've got a dash cam in your car, most of them will fire up if your car gets bashed, and then you've got a chance of, it'll take it. Indeed, and so you've got a chance of getting some footage of the culprit, but yeah, I know. It's always difficult when that happens. Well done. Suggestions in Slack. Oh, well, I occasionally have a look on Slack. I'm not on Slack very often, to be truthful, but I certainly pop in there every now and again, take a look. 80% probably I've already covered. People get some great ideas, but I've already had them. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, but I'm sure there are more decent stories out there. Feedback time. He looks very concerned. He's got a wrinkly forehead.
Do some feedback. Okay. Let me get that feedback queued up. Okay. Here we go.
Captain, incoming message.
All right, let's start off with this from Sam. Intercom and Alaska Air accident. He says, APG folks. He says, shorter than or easier than writing out all the names. Yes, APG crew or APG folks. We go by any of those. A question came up about inter-pilot communications and the Alaska Air accident. As Jeff and Nick pointed out, we normally take the ear cup towards the other pilot off so we can communicate. Once we get above flight level 180, we normally turn on the cockpit speakers and take our headsets off until top of descent when we put the headsets back on. Now, I hear a lot of people do that. This is Jeff talking now. I never did that. Usually, I just left the headsets on the whole time just to kind of try to protect my hearing as much as I could. But I have heard that this is a common process, especially I think in the Airbus world. On the 737, you don't see people doing that because it's just really, really deafeningly loud in the 737 cockpits. He said some 737s do have hot mic switches that can be locked to the on position, either as a Boeing option or, as Jeff said, using a rubber band. When we put on our oxygen masks, we normally take off the headsets and use the cockpit speakers to communicate with each other and hear ATC. Yeah, I found that that's always the best way to go because it's difficult to get a headset back on once you have the full face mask, oxygen masks and such. You have to really have those overhead speakers on. The problem is that the accident happened during climb, so the pilots had not yet turned on or turned up the volume on their cockpit speakers. This probably initially led to difficulty communicating with each other and ATC. It seems the crew quickly did the palm slap to the forehead and turned the speakers up. It's like one of the hardest things in an emergency like this, a rapid decompression that it just startles you. When you're in the simulator and you're kind of expecting something like that to happen, it's still disorienting and it's still difficult to get all the communications set up properly. But I can imagine, never happened to me, thankfully, having that kind of an event in real life, and you're not expecting it at all. And all of a sudden, boom, and it's just like a big explosion goes off and things are flying everywhere, and trying to get your communications set up with your oxygen mask on and everything else must be just terribly disorienting and difficult to do. But they seem to have done a very good job. He said a minor missed detail in the emergency procedure, but they did a great job of recognizing it and accomplishing step number 2 in the emergency descent memory items checklist, crew communications establish. Yeah, that's what we've been talking about. The crew communications establish is the hardest part of that 2-step thing. Oxygen masks on 100%, crew communications establish. That's the tough part. This is in no way a criticism of the crew. They did a great job by all accounts, according to Sam, and we agree. Thank you, Sam.
The one that always used to catch me out, Jeff, was when you got down to 10 and you don't need your oxygen mask anymore. So you take off your headset, take the mask off, dump it down beside you. And the next thing you do, a traffic call you, and you can't speak on the radio anymore. And that is because it was the one thing that was very easy to forget. As you take the oxygen mask out, I'm assuming it's the same on most airplanes, certainly on the Airbuses, you flick a switch that transfers the normal microphone from the cockpit headset or the handheld mic into the mic that's in the oxygen mask to allow you to speak. And then in order to return it back to its original setting so that you can use your headset or the handheld mic in the cockpit, when you're finished with the oxygen mask, you have to reach into the box and there's a little tag. You have to click it back into place. And then that resets it. And it was an easy thing to forget because when you got down to 10 and all the panic is finished, and you go, oh, thank God. Right, we're back in the land where we can take these damn octopuses off our face. It was very easy to forget.
And now you're Nordo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it used to take like 30 seconds to go, why? I'm talking to this guy. Why isn't he replying?
Why can't he hear me?
Yeah. And then the penny would drop.
Yep. iHaul Boxes says, nice. Okay, well, this is not iHaul Boxes. Okay, Liz, do you got it now? Oh. Okay. We have a comment from iHaul Boxes in our live audience. At Tim, rapid decomposition, boom, maggots everywhere. Okay, I'm not sure.
I'm not quite sure what the at Tim Rapid. No, I'm not.
All right, well, let's just cut that out of the show and pretend like we never saw it. Okay. Let's continue with some more feedback from Sam, jumping to 8. I'd like to keep these grouped together if we can from the same people, which means I guess we're going to talk about 12 as well. Sam also says in episode, you intentionally sprinkled them around? Well, I like to group them together. That's what I like. Yeah. APG crew, in episode 605, you discussed a Grumman Cougar that had a propeller strike. Just to clarify something, Nick said, by the FAA definition, a prop strike does not need the engine operating. I'm not sure that he said something different, but
interesting.
I don't remember actually.
I don't think I was able to say much about that. I'm not qualified.
Yeah. From the Nick Camacho. The other Nick. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so Nick Camacho. So you're off the hook, Anderson. From the AD, what's the AD? Not for the purposes of this AD, a propeller strike is defined as follows. I don't know. Anyway, definition of propeller strike. Any incident, whether or not the engine's operating, that requires repair to the propeller other than minor dressing of the blades. I hate it when the blades are not dressed. It's just so scandalous. Any incident during engine operation in which the propeller impacts a solid object that causes a drop in revolutions per minute, RPM, and also requires structural repair of the propeller. Incidents requiring only paint touch-up are not included. This is not restricted to propeller strikes against the ground. A sudden RPM drop while impacting water, tall grass, or similar yielding medium where propeller damage is not normally incurred. Anyway, Sam agrees with Nick Camacho's assessment of the YouTube show. Was it Rebuild Rescue, I believe? My hair stood when I heard the one person talk about a hard timeline they had to meet. As always, great and informative show. It's easy to be in the peanut gallery and find a minor fault. Yes, it is.
Indeed.
Well, I didn't know. I know that AD is a airworthiness directive, but I didn't know that that's exact. I thought maybe this was a different type or different AD, but I don't know. Whatever.
I think it can also mean aerodrome.
Yeah, I don't think we ever use that over here.
Okay.
But
I like him saying that, and this AD says whether the engine is operating or not. I'm trying to work out how the propeller RPM can be affected if the engine is not operating. Well, there you go. It does actually say whether the engine is operating or not.
Yeah. That's why you put it in bold, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, again, thank you for any and all attempts to keep us above 50%. We appreciate it.
Indeed.
And also, finally, from Sam, in the recent Challenger crash near Naples, the Hoppajet Challenger 604 crash on I-75, I'm sure the NTSB will come out soon with a preliminary report, but this sounds eerily similar to past events where aircraft were fueled with jet fuel contaminated with DEF, which is diesel exhaust fluid. DEF is required to be used, or DEF if you prefer. It's required to be used in diesel trucks in the U.S. and in Jeff's RV. In several instances, however, FBO, which are fixed base operators, personnel have inadvertently added DEF to fuel truck anti-ice injection system reservoirs instead of jet fuel system icing inhibitors. This has led to several aircraft having one or more engines fail. I'm attaching a copy of the FAA safety alert and a few articles about it, which we'll have in the show notes. Again, it's too soon to make a conclusion one way or another, but this is a case where jet operators should be wary. The only thing I'm wondering about, Captain Nick, is that if it were some kind of contamination with DEF, it was like a 2-hour flight or something, all the way down from Columbus to Naples. I mean, is there some aspect of having DEF, diesel exhaust fluid, in jet fuel that would not show up? Like the negative effects wouldn't show up until, burning through most of that fuel load?
I can't remember anywhere you've had a contamination of the fuel that doesn't show up shortly after takeoff,
right,
except, of course, for the BA 777. But that was a different issue. That was
ice. Yeah.
Icing that occurred because they'd done along a high-level cruise at very cold conditions, and the fuel had partially started to freeze, and which collected over the filter at the bottom of the tank where they sucked the fuel through and blocked it. You wouldn't normally expect a contaminant to sit around and not affect the engines until landing. You'd expect it to affect them pretty soon.
I would think so. But again, maybe there's some aspect of this fluid that just settles in a certain area, and it takes some time for it to show up or something.
Yeah. Or I do recall that I did a story about an Airbus that they had contaminant in the fuel that was the form of little beads that absorbed, and that happened on a 330 going into Hong Kong. They'd gone all the way up from Indonesia, quite a long flight, and it wasn't until they started their approach that they have problems. It is possible.
Okay. You know what? That's interesting. The feedback from Nick B. In my mind, we had already covered this, but apparently not, and I eliminated it from my keynote. But I think I'll be able to find it if you just give me. It is in Evernote, I think. Well, no, I don't see it there in my note. Do you? Do you see any indication?
I see it there, number 4, Nick B. It's still there in mine.
Yeah, but do you see the audio?
Do you want me to
file?
read it out? I'm sorry, say again?
No, I think he sent in some audio.
Oh, okay. I don't see the audio.
Oh, he didn't? Okay. Oh, okay. I'm finally back with everybody on Earth.
Hi, Jeff. Hi, how's it going?
What are we doing here? So what happened was he did send us some audio feedback, and he talked about HIC. And then we had so much fun with HIC, which is actually an acronym. So he is following up on his earlier feedback about seatbelts and armrests. So here we go. Hi, team. Thanks for reading my feedback in episode 604. HIC is Head Impact Criterion and is a measure of survivability of a passenger's head hitting the seat in front. I should have explained that, but was trying to keep my feedback brief. Second, Captain Nick asked about crash tests. Absolutely. There's crash test dummies of a seat weight and height with paint on their faces. Of a set weight and height with paint on their faces, high-speed cameras, and sensors on the test rig to determine the results of the HIC test. If and when I have the pleasure of meeting up with the APG team, I'll be glad to show you some photos from a test house and share a beer or two. Share a beer or two. I'll be glad to show you some photos from a test house and share a beer or two. It seems like I've been drinking a beer or two, and I have not. I've just been drinking water. I probably do have low blood sugar now.
I'm trying to work out what airline these dummies work for when they're flying around with paint on their faces and high-speed cameras in the cockpit. So I've seen plenty on Twitter and Facebook. Oh, and Instagram. That's another good place for them.
Yeah, I don't think they're in the cockpit though. These are passengers, right?
Oh, okay.
I'm not positive about that, but I think. I guess we'll expect to hear some more feedback from Nick B. Answering that.
Yeah, it's interesting though. I remember being very upset with my airline once because we have all this equipment in the cabin for the passengers, but on the flight deck, I once got in and the headrest was missing from my seat. So I went, are we allowed to fly without a headrest? Because in the event of an accident, we're going to, there's nothing to stop your head whiplashing back and breaking your neck. And, if you have a crash landing, the last thing you really want to happen is for the flight deck pilots to possibly incapacitated or killed by the lack of a headrest, which is obviously there to protect your head against whiplash. The MEL was dutifully produced, and there it was not required. And I went, well, for all the regulations we have about keeping our passengers safe, why don't we have any to keep our pilots safe? And I was most upset about that.
Nick, it has nothing to do with safety. It has to do with a place for us to lean back when we take our little
and
naps.
Sleep.
Yeah, we have something.
Well, that was the real reason I wanted it put back, but I wasn't going to tell them that.
Right. Well, that's exactly why it is an MEL exclusionary kind of item, apparently, because they know what we use those things for.
And I'm a tall bloke, you see, so the top of the seat only came to just below my shoulders. So, if I really had done a bit of whiplash during a nasty incident like leaving the runway and bouncing up and down a bit, I think I would have been quite badly injured.
Let's see, IHAL Boxes says, doesn't the headrest only protect against forward acceleration?
Only if you have the headrest in front of your face.
Yeah, it makes it hard to see the instruments and outside the aircraft.
Yeah.
Come on, let's think here. I don't know. I was thinking the same thing, IHAL Boxes, actually. All right, let's continue on, shall we, with this sent in to us from Becky. Thought you guys would enjoy this article from the apnews.com. And it has to do with this fine young gentleman of 102-year vintage. A former Royal Air Force's pilot has taken to the skies in a Spitfire at 102 years old. Jack Hemmings, ex-squadron leader with Britain's Air Force, is believed to be the oldest pilot to fly the World War II plane. His 20-minute flight from an airfield in southern England on Monday was to raise money for a charity he co-founded nearly 80 years ago. Oh my gosh. The veteran, who had never flown a Spitfire before, said it was absolutely delightful being back behind the controls, though he said the ride was very bumpy. To be honest, it felt a bit rusty. Not surprising, I'm rusty, he said. Hemmings was raising funds for Mission Aviation Fellowship, a humanitarian air service he helped launch after World War II alongside D-Day veteran Stuart King. The organization has since grown into a Christian organization that uses planes to deliver relief, medicine, and emergency cargo to countries in need. The flight marked 80 years since the D-Day landings and paid tribute to King, who died in 2020. Hemmings previously performed aerobatics on his 100th birthday and raised more than 40,000 pounds, about $50,000 for the charity. Barry Hughes, a pilot who accompanied Hemmings in the aircraft, said the veteran had a natural touch. He didn't need any instruction, really. He just took control, flew us around, made some turns and basic maneuvers. I think he really enjoyed every single moment of the flight. Now, it doesn't say here, maybe you know, Nick, I don't know if you know who this gentleman is or whatever, but...
I hadn't heard of him before, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and I looked, even all these little captions of all these photos to see if they mentioned what he did fly in World War II. But I wasn't able to see, they never mentioned. I guess whoever was writing the article didn't think it was that important.
No, it is a shame, because it's nice to know. I suspect if he wasn't a fighter pilot, he was probably flew bombers, but yeah, it doesn't say, does it? Perhaps our staff will try and Google.
Well, you got a long
name.
way to go, Nick. He's 102 and you're what, 60, 68, 69?
Yeah, how old do I have to be before I can get someone to pay for my flight in a Spitfire?
At least 80, I would think.
Yeah, at least.
So you got some time yet.
Yes. There you go.
All right. Well, if you want to pop into the...
Pop in.
Please do.
Snap, crackle, and pop. Ricicles are twicicles as nicicles.
Find yourself, Liz. Find yourself.
Okay, so the plane tail that Nick was referring to about the polymer, what were they called? Super absorbent polymer spheres was called Mayday, 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 Cathay 780. So in case somebody's interested in playing that for themselves, that's what it's all about.
Well, I love the way that rhymes. Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Cathay
It was in APG
780.
337.
Oh, that doesn't rhyme.
Yes.
You
Anyway.
could have done better, Nick.
And what about Jack Hemmings? What did he fly in the war there?
I'm sorry, I was looking up the AP. Give me a few minutes.
Okay. What should we pick our noses, Jeff?
No, you keep going.
No,
Carry on.
We're going to keep
Carry
moving
on.
on. And then she's going to interrupt.
Fair enough.
Well, now, no, right. I'm just kidding, Liz. Now she's upset. Oh, well. So we got some feedback from one of our new patrons, Steve Simpson. This is Max 9 versus 737-900. Hi, Captain Jeff and the crew. Thank you for a great aviation podcast and reading my previous feedback. I'm a little confused. As I understand it, the 737 fuselage is mostly the same design between the Max 9 and the 900 variant, including the midsection door plugs. Both are made by Spirit Aerosystems on the same line by the same crew. Why then was the Max 9 inspected but the Dash 900 not? Looking forward to a UK meetup, which would be my first since joining your wonderful community. Kind regards, Steve. Well, I answered Steve and said, that's a good question. In fact, we were talking about the same thing. And not long after Steve sent this, I saw this. On Sunday, January 21st, 2024, the FAA issued a statement on recommending visual inspections of Boeing 737-900ER mid-exit door plugs. As an added layer of safety, the FAA is recommending the operators of the 737-900ER aircraft virtually inspect mid-exit door plugs. Oh, I'm sorry, visually, not virtually. I'm thinking, how are they going to virtually inspect them?
Using those headsets.
Okay.
Virtual reality inspection going on here.
Visually inspect mid-exit door plugs to ensure the door is properly secured. The Boeing 737-900ER is not part of the newer MAX fleet, but it has the same door plug design. In accordance with their safety management systems, operators conducted additional inspections on the 737-900ER following the loss of a Okay. Why? Why do we have all these extra paragraphs that say the same darn thing as the previous paragraph with a few words like changed around? I don't get it. I guess I'm never going to be a journalist, Nick. I don't write like this.
I think you make a very good one, though.
Oh, I don't think so.
Because you wouldn't say the same thing 3 times.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't know what to do with me. Yeah, so we have the SAFO or SAFO, SAFO safety alert for operators included, and it'll be in the show notes for your perusal. Thank you, Steve. And we're going to continue on.
Good job, Steve.
With this from Richard. Flight deck or flight crew? Hello, Jeff and Nick. Oh, how did he know it was just going to be the two of us on the show when we were covering this?
Interesting.
Well, you know what? I think he's specifically addressed it to the two of us, Nick, because he knows that we're all the old codgers.
Yes, the old codgers are always. We've got nothing better to do
than to complain. Maybe it's because I'm getting older, but I feel myself getting more and more irritated by the little things. My triggers lately are people taking photos of lovely landscape scenes, such as a beach or fields or some nice country hills in portrait mode on their phones and losing half of the view.
Oh, join the club. You've only just discovered that's annoying? Oh,
maybe it's been annoying him for a long time, just as it annoys the two of us. In fact, there's a reason, Nick, why they call it landscape mode.
Yes, indeed.
Because that's what you use when you take pictures of landscapes. Come on, people. Yeah. Use your effing heads. Excuse me. I should probably delete that from the actual show.
I don't think effing is actually against the rules. I think you're allowed to say
is
effing.
Effingham, right? Isn't that
indeed.
A nice little village in England?
Yeah, I've been there.
Anyway, so he continues on with people constantly using the word literally for no reason at all. For example, the plane literally landed on the runway. Another would be people starting all of their sentences with the word so. So what I'm thinking here is that that Richard is literally getting upset by a lot of things.
Like.
You know, I pimped him a little bit. I responded to him and said, yeah, I agree. There are a lot of things that really trigger me as well. Like, for instance, people misspelling the word loose or losing, which he did actually in his feedback. And he thought it was kind of amusing. Anyway, let's continue with his feedback. Anyway, I've worked at the airport for a long time, and one things that used to get my goat. Maybe one thing. Okay. There's another error, Richard. Okay, anyway, I've worked at the airport for a long time, and one thing that used to get my goat was when people referred to the pilots as flight deck. Where's the flight deck? Someone would ask, to which I'd reply, it's there at the front, while looking at the flight deck. Usually the response was one of utter confusion or a sarcastic, oh, very funny. Imagine my horror and confusion when Nick kept referring to the pilots as flight deck while talking about accidentally blowing emergency slides in episode 605. This had me question myself on so many levels. Have I been wrong all these years? No, surely not. It must be you guys. Anyway, please refrain from doing this in the future, and I want a full and complete explanation in the next episode. Thank you and goodbye. Literally, Richard. Well, no, we failed on the count of we didn't do it in the next episode. It's a couple episodes since 605, but I don't know. I'll let Mr. Captain Nick Anderson explain himself.
What, do I have to justify this? All right, flight deck crew is the full term as opposed to the cabin crew, but after a while you get a bit bored saying 3 words when 2 words would suffice, since it's a repetition of what you previously stated. Now, I may or may not have started off by saying flight deck crew and then cut the word crew out, but that's kind of what I meant.
That's getting pretty sloppy, Nick. But
yeah, I know, I'm very sloppy.
I would like to interject.
You could say cockpit crew.
I could. Yeah, we could take one of those words, go from 3 words, flight deck crew, to cockpit crew, which is
it's the same number of syllables, isn't it?
Well, that's true. That's true.
Thank
but
you.
As you know, that's one of my little pet peeves is that I think that the thing that the pilots sit in and fly the aircraft in is a cockpit, not a flight deck. Flight decks, in my mind, are the things they put on the top, deck of an aircraft carrier.
Well, words are allowed to have 2 meanings.
No, not on this show.
So it just means that it's slightly friendlier for the ladies in the company who are going to have to work with us, not to have to say cockpit all the time.
But what's so offensive about saying cockpit?
Well, because of the word.
Well, but it has nothing to do with anatomy.
Yeah, well, you and I know that. A cockpit is an old naval term, but that's no reason why we should include it in the aviation world, just because it's an old naval term.
I think all of this is a bunch of poppycock and a bunch of wokeness gone wild.
Well, it's just that it's been around an awful long time, so it predates woke. So I'm going to have to poo-poo that, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Well, I can understand this from UH Blackhawk. When his university went co-ed, the campus bar, the cockpit, was forced to change its name. Yeah, I can see that maybe in that instance. Oh, Ludger said Jack Hemmings flew Airspeed Oxfords, Lockheed Hudsons, and DC-3 Dakotas.
Yes, I have a bit more information to share with you about Mr. Hemmings.
Please do.
He was a squadron leader with 353 Squadron. He flew the Lockheed Hudson to protect the Bay of Bengal from Japanese invasion. He was awarded the Air Force Cross for exemplary gallantry. And then Ludger has a bit more information. So he was a squadron leader out in India.
Excellent.
Wow.
There you go.
Exemplary gallantry. Well, say that 5 times fast.
Yeah. Wow. Very nice that he's still ticking over at 102 and flying in a Spitfire. Wow.
Wow, what a career. That's awesome. Yeah. So
have we put flight deck crew to bed now?
It doesn't bother me like potable and potable do, or fewer and less does, but I've kind of gotten used to either usage, flight deck or cockpit, even though we always talk about those reinforced cockpit doors. And a lot of the things, it's funny though, over the years, when they keep rewriting volume 1s and volume 2s, the pilot operating manuals and stuff, how more and more things have switched from cockpit to flight deck, just to be, correct, politically correct. The cocked up crew, I-Haul Boxes says. Definitely. Cocked up crew instead of the cockpit crew. Oh, I do like that. Very clever. Anyway. Okay. Well, I think we've flogged that dead horse about as much as we can. So Richard, literally, we hope that you are recovered from this, and if not, I don't know what else to do except for maybe just drink heavily. That's my solution for a lot of things.
Indeed, I've resorted to that myself.
There we go. All right. Some audio is coming up. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, I'm actually ready for this. I believe.
What number are we now, then?
We're now on 9.
Okay, number 9.
And we're going to add this to this.
Oh, how I got here.
And this is from Bill in Toronto, or YYZ as he characterizes it. Oh, YYZ. My bad.
Yes,
my gosh.
It's what Canadian.
Hi, Captain Jeff and esteemed APG crew. Bill in Toronto here. I recently started contributing as a producer, and I just wanted to let you know how I got here. Around July of 22, I was listening to the 100th episode of the A320 podcast, and Captain Nick was on as a guest, and he did a plane tale on the CFM 56 engine, which powers many or most of the CEO model 320s. It was awesome, and I just love how Nick puts on his storytelling voice, and he weaves such a great tale. After the plane tale, he chatted with Matt and Andy, and I think Captain Al was there as well. They mentioned the the APG podcast, and it sounded interesting, so I checked it out, and I've been listening ever since. It occurred to me, since I never miss an episode, your podcast is worth listening to, and anything worth listening to must be worth contributing to. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, we
very nice though.
She wants more details about Bill in Yankee Zulu.
If you're going to go put producer how I got here, you've got to tell us how you got here.
That is
well, I suppose
true. He
did a little bit, didn't he?
How he got to the APG. But we'd love to learn more about Bill himself.
Yeah.
And another thing I'd like to learn more about, what do you mean a plane tale on the A320 podcast? I thought we had an exclusive relationship, Nick.
Well, it was a bit looser back then. We hadn't finished signing the contracts.
That hurt me. I mean, it really
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Of course.
I actually, I didn't even remember what I did. But there you go. It can't have been that good.
It was more than a couple of weeks ago. It's hard to remember anything beyond that.
You're right.
At least for me. Anyway, well, thank you, Bill and YYZ, for sending in the feedback. Well, I went ahead and gave that to you, Liz, because it is Scandinavia. So Scandinavia. This is a good one. So, this is from Sam Reynolds, not Sam Dawson. He's a first-time feedbacker. He says, "Hello, APG crew. I'm a long-time listener, but my first time submitting feedback. It feels as though I've been taking you all to work with me for the last 6+ years as part of my morning commute. So I felt compelled to write in thanking you all for keeping me company, especially during the hard mornings." That's what she said. Oh yeah. Well, that's hard.
Oh, those hard mornings.
Good thing, I think.
They're fewer and fewer nowadays.
That sounds like a personal problem. No problem here.
Yeah. Well.
I was first introduced to the show when I heard Captain Nick talking as a guest on the Airplane Geeks podcast. Wow, this is one of those shows where everything is centered around Captain Nick Anderson. I know, that's great. Anyway, so Captain Nick was a guest on the Airplane Geeks podcast. I was fascinated about his story, living life as a fighter pilot, and made me search for your podcast. As he mentioned, he was one of the hosts. I remember one particular episode when he talked about his days flying around RAF Leeming in North Yorkshire. Lemming? Oh.
No, Leeming.
Oh, wow. So my producer interrupts me to correct me, and she's wrong.
Yeah, I know. Although Lemming would have been a suitable name. Most of them all just jumped off cliffs anyway. So,
okay, where were we? Okay. Leeming. When he was talking about his days flying around RAF Leeming in North Yorkshire, which is where I used to live. The story really resonated with me, as that had always been my childhood dream of being able to fly something like the Tornado, even though I recently learned Nick seems to despise it.
Indeed. Horrible bloody airplane. There you go.
But after listening to a recent episode of Plain Tales, I can see why. Nonetheless, all very fascinating to hear Nick's journey, and just wanted to say how much I appreciate you sharing your aviation stories with us all. We all do appreciate him.
Wow,
sharing
thank you
his
very
stories.
much appreciated.
Sam. Let's see. Let's continue on with his feedback. A little about myself. I live in a place called Bath in the UK, which I'm sure Captain Nick will be
Indeed. I had a
with.
grandmother that lived in Bath, yeah.
Was she very clean?
Extremely.
What's going on with my video?
Yeah, you're all fuzzy as well.
What's going on?
I don't know.
I don't get it. Technology evades me. I have super high speeds, both down and up. And at some point in the show, this always happens. Let me look at my activity monitor.
What have you got your RAM or your CPU speed available or capacity available?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now, 52%.
Yeah? Okay. What is it?
52%.
Okay. Not huge, but it's obviously working.
Keynote is taking up 63%. Why? Not even doing anything really with it. Oh, good point. Let me check.
Yeah, nice one, Tim. Yeah, those shimmy dampers.
Is that a menu? Where do I find that in the menu?
You've got better, by the way. You're looking a bit more like you.
Well, you know what? Let me do something here. Let me remove.
Just going to do something. Yes, right. Bye-bye, Jeff. Sorry, folks. We're going to have a premature end here.
Yeah, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I'm going to quit Keynote and see what happens to my activity monitor here. Okay. Still showing. Keynote still hanging on. Oh, come on now. All right. Looks like it finally let go of its RAM. So things should be a lot better now. I do. I'm going to restart it. I just wanted to see maybe there's some kind of like a memory leak or something. Which I would be.
Is that a memory leak?
Oh, sure enough. Look at that. There's a memory leak all over the seat.
Yeah, you forgot to go to the toilet.
That's very embarrassing, I have to say. Well, okay. Well, hang on. I got it. Now I'm trying to use my. Oh, that's interesting. So I have my iPad 12.9 inch as a
12.9 inches. Wow, impressive.
That's a lot. You guys, I don't even have to hit the little sound effect anymore. You guys just do it on call.
On cue.
So I'm using this as I'm using Sidecar as a way of getting more screen real estate, and now I can't get my mouse cursor to show up. And the reason why that's important is that in order for me to get Keynote started again, I have to, the menu, the dock is on that second screen because it's below the big screen. I can't get to the dock. And it says that Keynote is still active, which is not. Okay, I know how to do this. Let me go over here to the system settings. All of you out there who hate Macintosh, Apple Macintosh computers are probably reveling in this issue that I'm having. Displays. IP.
Very good.
That is good. Okay. Let me reconnect. Okay. Let me put this window back down. Hang in there.
No, it's all right. I'm only on my third beer.
Okay, now my cursor goes all the way down to the second screen. Good. That happened to coincide with, so, that's a clue. Wondering if maybe doing the side, okay, let me do this. What do they call it? Sidecar? Yeah, sidecar. Okay, I'm going to stop screen sharing. That might be just too much for the thing to handle. And I'll put my Farrago, which is my sound playing app, back in the regular screen. I do, because I'm the only one that I can have an intelligent conversation with. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's right.
At least, yeah. Okay. So let me open up the keynote. Yeah, hang on. Jeff's Media. Is that the next one that we're doing? Paul is the. Oh, that sounds terrible. We're not finishing off Sam. Poor Sam. He seems like a nice bloke. Okay. I got to make this window smaller so I don't get any mouse tracks on it. Okay. Stop with the whistling thing. Yeah, sure. I don't believe you at all. Okay. A little about myself. This is Sam. I lived in a place called Bath. Oh, wait. Nope. We already read that. Anyways, keep up the great work and looking forward to many more shows ahead. For me, and I'm sure for many others out there.
Skipped a bit. Best read a little more about myself, because the second half of that sentence.
See, I thought we'd already talked about Bath.
No, we haven't talked about Kemble Airfield.
Thank you. I'm a private pilot and enjoy flying around the Cotswolds. Did I say that right? Mainly out of Kemble Airfield. Thanks for your confidence. Also known as Cotswold Airfield. Out of curiosity, I wonder if Captain Nick had ever been stationed there.
No, it was winding up when I was around the Air Force. It was mainly used by Central Flying School, as I remember, but in the old days.
Okay. So Nick's, what is your mother or your grandmother? So
my grandmother lived in Bath. Yes.
Bath. Okay. So what we've established is your grandmother was a very clean lady, and you have not flown out of Cotswolds.
Out of Kemble, no.
Or Kemble, yeah. Okay. Anyway, keep up the great work. Looking forward to many more shows ahead for me, and I'm sure for many others out there. The show is a perfect balance of aviation-related material without being too serious, along with general life stories such as the Getting to Know Us segment. For that reason, it's much more than an aviation podcast. I remember on a relatively recent episode that someone left somewhat negative feedback on that part of the show. This goes without saying, but that listener is probably one of the very few, if not entirely by himself, with that opinion. I find myself occasionally laughing out loud to some of the content, and really does brighten up my day. However, I'm sure if people are watching me when stopped at a red light, manically laughing to myself, perhaps it could cause concern. With that said, they probably know that it's just one of the many side effects of APG syndrome, and perhaps even sympathize with me.
I certainly do. Yeah, I feel very sorry for you.
And finally, Captain Jeff, congratulations on your retirement. Thank you. You made it. I look forward to future RV adventures and adventure stories. Yes, I will give you plenty of them, I hope. Hopefully they'll be all good. Also, is this really Nick Anderson? He must have taken retirement earlier than I thought. All the best. So there's a picture that I have not seen of, younger Nick Anderson.
Look at those teeth. I've got great teeth.
You have great teeth. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I've a bit of a high forehead, I reckon.
Well, because you have such a big brain. I think that this is a screenshot, I believe, from Apple Podcasts. I've seen this myself somewhere. And I think it's some kind of an algorithm somewhere. Well, first of all, it says hosts and guests of APG are just three of us. There's just me, Jeff, Nick Anderson with a improper or wrong photograph. And you're the only one that has a photo, by the way. The rest of us just
even if it is completely wrong.
And then Stephanie Plummer. So Jeff Nielsen, Nick Anderson, and Stephanie Plummer. What about Miami Rick? What about Nick Camacho? What about our producer Liz? No, that's not in there at all. They've completely screwed that up. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. I actually, when I first saw this, Nick, I did some research on Nick Anderson, and I think that there's a famous Nick Anderson who's a basketball player. Pretty sure.
Oh, there's a musician, and there's also Nick Anderson. So actually it's great because if you Google yourself, you often find very negative things on the internet about you. But if I Google myself, lots of other people come up, so that's great.
Yeah. I think there's some kind of a hockey player or something like that named Jeff Nielsen that usually pops up first couple of pages, which is good. I don't want you to be reading any bad stuff about me. Okay. One last one. Oh, this is going to be a nice, shorter show for a change. That's good. Oh, not much shorter. No, that's right. Oh, well, sort of. A little bit shorter. We have some audio feedback from our friend Paul. And so let me, I have to share the screen again because I stopped doing that when I quit Keynote. So share and add to stage. Oh, that's right. Sometimes it's hard to coordinate all that. Okay, here we go. Let's hear what Paul has to say this week. See if I can get it to work.
Hello, APG crew. This is Paul. I live between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. It's National Cabbage Day. I'm always on the hunt for good sauerkraut. I've been tardy and creating this feedback, so forgive me.
Retard.
No, tardy. I will be in Seattle April 21st through the 23rd. Let's meet up somewhere and geek out on Metal That Flies. Captain Jeff and some of the other crew have my contact information. Again, invitations for any of the APG crew to meet up would be really sweet. Sweeter than my chocolate chip cookies. I hate to say it, but I have no questions for you in this feedback. I know you're breathing a sigh of relief. I do have some things I would like to share. Since Spirit Aerosystems, Boeing, and Airbus have been in the spotlight lately, I figured I'd share some safety culture behaviors in the nuclear plant in which I worked. To me, safety culture starts at home, where behaviors develop and eventually translate into personal safety and good job performance. Let's start with the slip simulator. Picture a hard glass-like waxy surface. You put on shoes with plastic cleats. The cleats are made out of a very hard plastic. Now spray some water on the surface and make it extra slippery. And there you have what comes pretty close to being as slippery as ice. You strap on a harness for fall protection and you hook it to a beam above you. The beam is about 20 feet long, as is the slippery surface. Now go ahead and try to walk on it as people try to distract you with throwing sponge balls. Everyone that works at the site, including contractors, has to go through the slip simulator at least once. Contractors, as well as the employees, are treated exactly the same as far as safety concerns, product quality, and job performance. An example of this would be if a contractor gets hurt, not only do the contractors get less of an annual safety bonus, but the same is true for the plant employees. Everybody has to watch out for each other. The company allows you to take PPE home for personal use. I'm talking things like gloves, safety glasses, hard hats, earplugs, etc. Now, if there's something more significant, such as a piece of safety equipment, such as fall protection, you're able to take it and return it later. If you saw anybody, for example, like the company president, walking around outside while texting or looking at their cell phone, there would be no problem if you stopped them and coached them not to do that. No questions asked. Anybody from new part-time toilet polisher on up can stop a job at any time if they saw something. For example, if a person is merely collecting trash, they can stop a 30-ton lift if they see something. The work shall be put in a safe condition, then a discussion of what was seen will take place, and then a decision will be made of what to do next. One of the corporate mottos, you always have time to do the job safely and correctly. Okay, my 3 minutes are up. Hopefully I'll see people in Seattle. Have a great day. See ya.
You know what's really impressive about that, Paul? Thank you for sending in the audio. Is the fact that the whole time he was doing that, he was playing the drums.
I know. He's got a really good rhythm as well. That's really excellent. Yeah. I've got to take my hat off to you. That was
I do have a question about...
Okay, everybody, come outside. Everybody ready for a wild, wet ride?
Slip and slide. Oh, yeah. So,
yeah.
Maybe I missed something. But what was the entire point about the slippery surface and the harness and walking? I'm thinking, well, yeah, are the floors around the nuclear power plant like super slippery or something? I don't know. Or it just happened to be something that you had to focus and concentrate on, and you couldn't let distractions throw you off and make you fall down. I don't know. Paul, I'm more confused than ever. So
you're easily confused, Jeff.
Well, I am. That's true.
But
that's true, Bob.
Yeah. I'd like to point out that the pictures of the crew.
Oh, you're still hung up on your picture.
Well, they're still there. So that's 606.
How was that supposed to change?
Well, I don't know, but I don't know how I guess that. It's just at the bottom of the show notes when you go to the show notes.
It's part of the information of
there you go. There it
APG
is.
show.
There's me in the middle.
I know. Well, we had that. We showed that on the screen earlier.
Yeah, I know. It's just that I thought by now you would have fixed it.
Oh, I see. Now it's my fault that they have the wrong. How am I supposed to do that?
Well, I didn't know.
Who am I supposed to talk to? I'll do that when I'm in the RV. I'll make a trip out to California, Northern California, and while I'll take a little break from seeing Jim, who lives up in that area.
Well, Jim may know the way to fix it.
Yeah, maybe Jim knows.
He's a smart bloke, you see.
Yeah, Tim. Hey, Tim, could you do me a favor? I'm talking about...
Is that it? Are we going home now? Are we finished?
I'm talking about the Apple CEO. He's gone? Yeah. That's who I'm talking about. Oh, you're thinking I'm talking about Tim Van Ram?
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Tim's gonna. I don't think Tim Van Ram's gonna make any noticeable difference in anything to do with iTunes and podcasts and stuff like that. But I could be wrong. Tim might prove us wrong. You might have contacts there. But yeah, I'm at a loss, Captain Anderson. I don't know what to.
Well, there's got to be a way for podcast owners to report errors that are they're.
Well, I think you should look into that then.
I'm not
because
in
mine
charge.
is just fine.
Look, I'm just an underling here.
I really honestly don't think there's anything. I think it's just like an automatic, like an algorithm thing that just sees a name and goes, "Oh, there's a podcast. That's named."
Picks
boom,
a picture of a random person and sticks them in.
I don't know.
Well, I noticed that you only come up as JN.
Well, that's because if they don't have a picture, then they put your initials, just like any kind of a thing on your phone, like in messages and stuff like that. If you don't have a picture associated with the person, then they just, like, for instance, right now, Liz Piper is LP.
All right.
Yeah. So
Liquid petroleum.
Okay, time to wrap it up. Oh, thankfully. How do we do that? Oh, we go this. We look at the screen and see that there's a banner there that says airlinepilotguy.com, which is my cue to talk about our website. We are in the midst, I think, of kind of switching servers and getting the S added to the HTTP to be a secure socket layer thing. But rest assured, if you get a warning when you try to go to our website that says it's not secure, it's okay, because we don't ask any personal information. We don't gather any personal information about you or credit card information or anything. That's all through third-party, links and stuff like that. So, you can rest assured we're not going to steal your privacy data and do something with it, because I frankly really wouldn't know what to do with it. we can't even figure out how to get rid of a picture that's not the right picture.
True.
Anyway, so there's some things going on in the background. So hopefully we'll have more information about that here in the future. We also are on social media, or some of us are sometimes. I'm going to let Nick tell you all about that.
Yeah, if you're a follower on Facebook, then you need to look for Airline Pilot Guy, all one word, and you'll find what we stick in Facebook, which isn't a great deal. On X, that's X Twitter, we're at APG Crew. That's all one word. And it's very similar on the Instas. On Instagram, we're just APG Crew, and all you'll find there is the artwork, and you might get an advanced look at that. And, of course, if you want to see the whole sausage being made, all the maggots and all, go to youtube.com/Airline Pilot Guy. Again, all one word.
And, yeah, let me do that. Before we move into Slack, let me tell you that we've received a bunch of great responses regarding the Mooch docking database for my future RV travels. That address is rv@airlinepilotguy.com. Just make sure you put in the subject field, something to do with RV or boondocking or mooch docking or something like that, so we'll know that's information. Yeah, we certainly do appreciate everything. I mean, I have to tell you that there are so many very generous offers out there, probably generous officers too. Officers? I don't know. Anyway, a bunch of great offers out there all over our wonderful country who have, and the Yukon territory as well. And so that's just blowing us away. So thank you so much. It's going to be so much fun when I'm out there on the road full time, and I can just call up Liz and say, "Hey, Liz, this is where I am. Look at your map and tell me who's closest to me, because I need a place to spend the night." Anyway, we did mention the meetup at airlinepilotguy.com as well. If you are interested in becoming part or participating in a meetup, or making your own meetup, like Paul out in Seattle, again, he mentioned it in his audio feedback. So if you're in the Seattle area and you want to meet up with Paul and other APGers, and who knows, maybe even one of us, hard to say at this point, but what did he say, April 21st through the 24th, something like that, later, the last part of April. Yeah, I might be in Manitoba looking at my RV being built on the line at that time. But anyway, we'll play it by ear. So there you go. So you have RV at airlinepilotguy.com, meetup at airlinepilotguy.com, and all that stuff. And we're also on Slack. And so, Captain Nick, since you're the one that hangs out in Slack all the time, and maybe you could tell us about Slack. Hey, Nick, tell us about Slack. Oh, wait a minute. No, it's Hillel that tells us about Slack. My bad. I'm sorry to put you on the sorry to put you on the spot there.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and Plain Tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel.
Woohoo! Free soap!
He gets so excited.
He loves it, doesn't he?
He loves his soap, that's for sure. Yeah, and Liz, make yourself
here I am.
present. There we go. Yay! Thank you,
Hi, Liz.
for
well done.
all the work
Good
you
job.
do.
Thank you very much.
It was fun, you guys. It was a good show.
Trying to corral the misfits while we're doing the show and all the work
Definitely
that you do
think you've
before
got
and
low
after.
blood sugar, Jeff. I'm a little worried about you right now.
And you should be. And finally, we'd like to thank our live audience
Yes, sir.
being with us as they
Very
are
nice.
every week.
The usual crew, plus
And-
a few others that
Yeah.
we sometimes see.
Yeah, welcome to those who are just joining us for the first time. Hopefully, we didn't scare you off, scare you away.
Great comment by iHall Boxes.
Perhaps Hillel should. The iHall Boxes says perhaps Hillel should visit Bath, UK.
He's always in the bathroom.
Perhaps he should. He'd be right at home there, I'm
Yep.
sure. All right.
It's I Hall Box is quoting Shakespeare there. He's written visieth. Perhaps Hillel should visieth Bath.
Oh, that was Shakespearean. I wasn't
Visit
sure what to make
Bath.
of that. All right. Let's just go ahead and end this thing before.
Let's
just
end it all.
completely
Let's just end it all.
goes down the tubes. All right. Wishing you all clear skies. Oh, before I do, sometimes you'll hear me say, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and talons, Douglas. And the reason for that is because that's a little homage that we make to our good friend and fellow aviator and mayor of Oshkosh for I don't know how many years, Glenn Towler, who died way too early in his life, and we miss him so much. He sent us some audio feedback at one point saying that the auto captioning in YouTube it sometimes puts out really interesting words, trying to interpret what we're saying. And apparently when I said tailwinds and God bless, it interpreted as me saying talons and Douglas. So so he used to end his audio feedback with talons, Douglas.
Love it.
And so it's my way.
It's become
of
a thing.
Remembering and honoring and paying homage to
Yeah,
Glenn.
great guy.
So Glenn, if you're listening, we hope you are, and we miss you, and we're hoping you're having a great time in the sky. And with that, wishing you unlimited visibility, talons. No, that's not right. Wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, talons, Douglas.
All the best, everyone. Bye.
See you next time.
Well, you guys did it much more succinctly than I did.
Turn
Well,
off
that's
your,
part of your
turn off your
charm,
recorder, Jeff.
Yeah, part of your charm.
Charm, yeah.
Yes, exactly right.
Recorder off.
Okay, I heard you. Thank you for getting around to it.
Any you got a title there, Jeff? Nick? I've got a couple.
Well, I've got Maggots on a Plane, which is going to be like snakes on a plane, but with
boy.
maggots.
Okay.
When maggots drop from overhead, and cocked up crew. That's the three I've got so far.
I've got smells fishy to me, and I've also got shot on approach. Remember, Bill was saying rather than shot and approach, it was shot on approach.
Shot on approach, not shot an approach.
Mm-hmm.
Shot on approach.
And Micah's got maggoty flying fish.
That's
okay.
This is a guy with the iPad, Mooney Goonie. Good one, iHall.
Mooney Goonie. Yeah, I'm kind of concerned about that guy.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think he crashed. We didn't hear that he crashed.
No, I think that it must have been a happy ending. But as several people mentioned in the live chat room, that I'm sure that somebody is probably going to reach out to him and have him call, or hopefully
give him a number,
talk to him and say, tell us what your understanding is of what you're doing up there in your airplane.
Love it.
Interesting.
Oh, cooped up in the cockpit, all hands on deck.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, that's very complicated.
It's a long title, I-haul.
I'm pretty sure.
You notice our titles are normally like 3 or 4 words.
Yeah, we're pretty
not always, but usually.
Terse.
No, yes,
usually.
We normally try to keep them short and sweet.
Well, thanks everybody. I think Jeff needs to get some food, so we better wrap this up. So we're going to say good night.
He doesn't look very happy about that. All right.
Bye, everybody.
Nice to see you all. Brilliant.
Bye. See you next time.
See you next week. All the best.